kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not.
Disappointed in every one of you. Disappointed in every one of you.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to offend you.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I kiss you on the mouth.
No, I'm not cool with that. I'm sorry.
One more time.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
I mean, I'm dealing with degenerate animals.
I'm disappointed in every one of you. Disappointed in every one of you.
All right, come on.
Honestly, I can't do it, man.
I'm disappointed in every one of you.
Let me tell you why.
It's gonna be all right, Nicky. Go ahead, shoot.
You just killed a fucking man.
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, because you got nothing. You don't got a thing. Yeah, because you got nothing.
Lomito!
Got nothing.
I want to get out. I want to get out of this rat hole. I want to get online. I need
BDA boxing.
Welcome everybody to the Beatboxing Podcast, broadcasting to you live from the true north. This is your friend Mr. BDA, and alongside with me as always my co-host, the one, the only King Bucho. King, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Alright, I see we got some strange happenings, Bucho, with the chat. I think it's because of the new year. And I think certain automatic changes were made. I don't know if Gaia 500 maybe got into the system, but hey, look, it's working. That's all that matters here. Before we get down to the business, first of all, Happy New Year to everybody out there. I know we have been MIA a little bit for a couple of days now. So happy belated New Year and Christmas, by the way. Happy Hanukkah also to our BDA Board of Directors. And happy Kwanzaa to 100% X. I'm glad all of you are here to join us. Now, before we get down to the fun, we got a lot to talk about in terms of Fighter of the Decade, as you can see by the title of the show. But before we get down to the fun, we got to get the business out of the way, guys. If you want to continue contributing to the show and you want to keep the gravy train rolling, you can support the show through YouTube, clicking the subscribe button, the like button, spreading the BDA gospel to the uninitiated. And if you have a couple of coins laying around, you can shekel them our way via PayPal, the Patreon page, or on the Super Chat feature here on the YouTube stream. So that's about it. Check out the Twitter page as well and join Discord. It's flowing pretty smoothly nowadays. Flowing pretty smoothly, if I might say so myself. So, speaking of flowing smoothly, we got some of the smoothest chat viewers / listeners out there. I want to give a shout out to Jonathan Vikland, Subash Kunwar, BOKS, Jim Lord Albania. I tell you, the names that some of these people come up with, Jim Lord Albania, and History Vault, ABIII, Trash, Jonathan Vikland, I already mentioned him. I'll mention him again, why not? Who else was here? Hold on a second, I'm scrolling through this chat. Pink Panther was in there, shout out to Pink Panther. Oh my god. Foulpole Boxing, Jason Bourne. Shout out to Jason Bourne, Saint Britt. Game Over. I thought it said Gay Over. That's where my mind is at right now. Uncle Burnt apostrophe SSB apology man is in there as well. Virtuoso, Guerrero de la Info, Punch for Pound, Austin Jackson, and many people, many more to come, I'm sure. Thank you guys for joining us. Really appreciate you having on board. Bucho, fighter of the decade. Let me tell you something. That is something. First of all, I got the header up there, and I realized that I pressed enter twice, so that's where we get. Hold on a second. There we go. All right. So that's it. That you get the title right up there. We're gonna take phone calls also. By the way, we're gonna open up the phone line. So if you want to call in and tell us, or you can do so in the chat room too. Give us your opinion about the guys that we're gonna be going through here. Father Bucho, just before we get down to it, by the way, here's the way it's gonna work, guys. We're gonna go on over to the second page here, and then I am going to be putting up there the photographs of the people, then the records too, of the people that I feel, or we might feel, were the fighter of the decade. We got to keep something in mind, guys. When we talk about fighter of the decade, we're going to mention some names. These guys, they're not necessarily the surefire contenders, but they're guys that deserve to be mentioned or honorably mentioned as some of the top boxers that accomplished a lot in the past decade. And it was quite a decade, right, Bucho? I mean, I know we're going to talk about it more in another episode. We're going to do a review of that. But, I mean, when the decade started, think about it. 2010, let's go back to 2010. There was no Gennady Golovkin. Sergey Kovalev wasn't on the radar yet. Neither was Terence Crawford, really. He was a prospect. The main names that people were still talking about when 2010 started was, first of all, the main thing. Everybody was talking about Mayweather versus Pacquiao. That was a fight everybody wanted to see, right? Including ourselves, obviously. Bernard Hopkins was still in the picture. Chad Dawson, some people had him as the top 10 in the top 10 pound for pound. That was before he would go on to lose to Jean Pascal that year. Who else was Andrew Ward was in contention there in the pound for pound because he was on the way to winning the Super 6 tournament. So a lot of things changed at the end of the day. You had Golovkin now, you had Lomachenko, you had Terence Crawford, you had Errol Spence, Anthony Joshua. I'm talking about top 10 guys, top pound for pound. Things change a lot, nah? When you think about it.
Absolutely. And I'd like to add Vladimir Klitschko. Do I sound okay?
Yeah, you sound perfect.
Okay, because I don't. Okay, so Klitschko is an interesting case. Also, I think we should mention his name. He was the undisputed heavyweight champion up until 2015. So that's why I included him in the thumbnail for this video, because some people, can make an argument that because he was so dominant, that he deserves to be mentioned in the fighter of the decade.
Bucho, if you wouldn't have included him, you would have had some very angry people in the chat room. First of all, I know people think that because I sound a little bit like Vladimir Klitschko, despite the fact that I'm Mexican, so I don't know exactly how that accent developed into a Ukrainian accent. But despite the fact that I may sound like the guy and look like him too, in terms of musculature, I gotta tell you, you guys know it's no secret. I don't like Vladimir Klitschko's style. I never liked it. Never was a fan of him. Couldn't have been happier when he got kicked off of HBO and had to fight in Germany. But you're right, Bucho. I mean, he did, accomplish quite a lot. Nowadays you see a lot of these people struggling to win 3 straight fights at the heavyweight division. So Vladimir Klitschko, what he did, you gotta give him a little bit of credit to old Vladdy. All right. Hold on a second. I got the phone lines open there just in case. So if you want to call in, we're going to, we're not in a rush to take phone calls, by the way. So don't feel pressure to call in just yet. But anyway, Bucho, what was I saying about, Vladimir Klitschko. All right. You know what? Let's start off with that. Good old Vladimir Klitschko. Now, let me just get my, hold on a second. I'm looking for the record here all right, there we go. All right, so there we got Vladimir Klitschko, 64 wins, 5 losses, 53 knockouts. Quite an impressive record. Not exactly impressive fights. All right, but when he started 2010, Bucho. All right, I'm not going to be able to zoom in here, so I'm going to just go back to this page here. All right, when he started out 2010, he beat Eddie Chambers, who only had 1 loss, and it was a close loss to Alexander Povetkin. Then he beat Samuel Peter in a rematch, knocked him out. He beat David Hay, And listen, it's not necessarily Klitschko's fault that the fight was as boring as it was. I think both guys deserve a little blame for that. But he did beat David Haye, who at the time, guys, you got to remember, was a solid threat to Vladimir Klitschko's reign. So that's a big win right there. Jamar Morgmek looked like a midget compared to Klitschko, so we're not going to give him any credit for that. He struggled against Tony Thompson. Wait a minute, was that the rematch? Yeah, this was in the rematch. So he beat Tony Thompson in 2012. Marius Wack, Francisco Pianeta. I mean, I think you can start seeing the little pattern here about the lack of opposition he had. Then he beat Povetkin, all right, good win. Pulev also, that's a win that's looking better now. He struggled against Brian Jennings, and then he lost against Fury and Joshua. And even though he redeemed himself a little bit in the Joshua win, nevertheless, he lost to Fury, and he didn't look all that impressive in some of his other fights. So, hey, listen, Bucho, he deserves to be mentioned, right? He deserves to be mentioned, just for the fact that of longevity and consistency.
Absolutely, and that's my issue with, first of all, with the fighter of the decade thing. It's like, what if a fighter has like 5 years in the new decade and 5 years in the old decade? You know, his reign. What if it spans between that period? Hello.
Sorry about that. Yeah, what did you say? I didn't quite catch what you said.
Yeah, if a fighter, let's say a fighter like Klitschko, he has 5 years into the 2010s, and then he was champion before that as well.
Right.
Now, because he had 5 years in the decade, is that enough to consider him fighter of the decade?
That's a good point, and that's when we're gonna talk about Mayweather. We're gonna get to that. But hold on a second, because I'm recharging my phone here. I just realized it was out of battery. Listen, what happened in the past decade happened in the past decade. Yeah, that doesn't take it. We can't put that into account. So if like a guy like Klitschko, he did a lot of good job, got a lot of good work in the first decade of the 21st century, but he doesn't get any credit for the past decade. I'm talking 2010 to 2019. Sorry, it just doesn't work that way. So that's the criteria that we have to set right away, Pucho.
Yeah. By the way, send me a link, man.
Yes. All right. But wait a minute. I have to invite somebody first. How do I do that? Oh, well,
yeah. Invite, recognize, I guess.
Oh, yeah, recognize. I forgot. I tell you, I'm a little rusty here with the invites. All right. Are we still here, Bucho?
Yep.
Huh. I didn't get kicked out like I usually do. All right. You know what? I'm going to start inviting.
I got kicked out. But anyways, I'm back in.
That's bizarre. I'm going to add Gonzalo too in here. I don't know. G Boogie. Is G Boogie in the chat room? I think he is. G Boogie, if you want a link, hit me up, man. We'll get you in here as well. Let's just get this started, man. Let's get this party started. Oh, Gonzalo, are you there? Oh, no, I thought he was there. All right, listen. Vladimir Klitschko.
Yeah.
Great start to 2010 here. All right, let's go. Okay, so I'm going back here. So Vladimir Klitschko, honorary mention. Why not? One of the best heavyweights of the past 20 years. Very dominant. In fact, I tell you something, though. I don't like to say it because you guys know I don't like this guy's style. But if he were 35 years old right now, gosh, you know what? Even 37 years old, he could. I think he could take Joshua to school, just like he was doing in the first fight. The Tyson Fury fight, if they fought 5 times, I wouldn't give Tyson Fury the win in every one of them. I think Klitschko could maybe, with different judges, I mean, I think he could get the win there. I definitely pick him over Deontay Wilder. And everybody else, well, obviously you'd have to favor him. So that's how good Vladimir Klitschko was. And he had a pretty good decade. Nothing to be ashamed about, except that his style should be very, very, very ashamed about that. All right. Now, I want to say something else here. Because on ESPN, there's a feature where they talked about just this subject, the fighters who defined the decade in boxing. And you have this guy, what's this guy's name? Osuna? I think it's Osuna, right?
Bernardo Osuna, yeah.
Yeah, then you have Andrew Ward there wearing glasses to look smarter. Timothy Bradley is in there as well, I believe. And the other guy is, I think, Mike Coppinger or one of those writers. I think it's this guy. What's his name? The guy who does I think he used to be an announcer too for ESPN before he was relegated to the more, studio segments. But anyway, there's no Max Kellerman. You cannot believe how happy I was when I went in there and I saw that they didn't have Max Kellerman there. Because, I mean, I think you know who he would have picked as fighter of the decade, right?
Andre Ward.
I'm pretty sure he would have picked him. Now, there's this website called World Boxing News, and they said Fight of the Decade, fans uproar at the decision to omit Manny Pacquiao. So this website, I don't know if it's from the Philippines or whatever, there's no comment section either, so I can't get a read on what people on that website are saying. But apparently this website believes that Manny Pacquiao had a good case. Another one was the Inquirer. They're saying that Manny Pacquiao has a case for Fight of the Decade. And then if you go to that same website, World Boxing News, they say Fight of the Decade 2010, the case for Canelo Alvarez. So we're going to get to that, guys. We're going to unpack all of this. And we're going to try to get a read on what people are saying. First, let's go to the chat room. I want to get a read because finally we got a little bit of time here to see what people are saying. And let me just go back here a little bit. All right, so Apology says, give Vlad credit where credit is due. That's what we're doing, Apology. We're starting off the year being fair and balanced, just like Joe Cortez. And like Joe Cortez, we're probably going to fuck up royally in one aspect or another. Punch for Pound says, the actual fighting boxer of the decade would be someone none of us have ever heard of. That's true. That's true, yeah. The fight of the decade is not going to be... I mean, we're talking boxer of the decade, not fight of the decade. So he's got a good point. Andrew Ward, M6 says, Andrew Ward shouldn't be mentioned because he lost the first fight versus Kovalev. Now we're going to get into that as well. SSB says, the fight of the decade is some guy in Africa fighting off lions in some tribe. Fighting off lions and cannibals too, probably. Overhand says, this decade was crap. Too much marinating this decade. Punch for Pound says, well, I'm out. Yeah, you should have been fight of the decade. Galileo Info says, oldest welterweight champion in 4 decades, never been done before. He's talking about Manny Pacquiao, I believe. All right, by the way, I forgot to read some of the... We got 2 donations. What?
With a comment.
All right, let me just read. Hold on a second, because I missed St. Britt donated before a couple of minutes ago. He said, only having 2 pounds because you were 7 minutes late. Oh, come on. So because we're getting penalized because we're late. But anyway, I appreciate everything we get. St. Britt, shout out to St. Britt being very strict about the starting times here. And also Chris K, who says, Charlie Zelenoff, fighter of the millennium. Shout out to Chris K and St. Britt for the contributions. Although I got to tell you, you all know Charlie Zelenoff is mentally ill. So he's not a troll, man. He really is mentally ill. So I don't like to make I don't like to mock the guy too much. I'll mock him a little bit. I'll mock anybody, whether you're schizophrenic or depressed or whatever, but I won't go about it the same way or with the same intensity as I would with normal people. All right. So shout out to you guys for your contributions. What else? Punch for Punch says, I guess I came to make the house comment, then keep going once I was here. Peace, everyone. I don't know what he's talking about. No reason to even comment anymore. I don't know what Punch for Pound is talking about. Josh Gordon says Eubanks Jr. Jason Bourne says Triple G should be mentioned as fight of the decade. Okay, somebody. Subhash Kumar says CM Punk. I mean, come on. Fight of the decade. Jason Bourne says
Getting out of control.
Yeah. Greg what's his name? Prejamchuk says O'Kelly fight of the decade. O'Cole. Pesip says Coppinger tweets. Oh yeah, those Coppinger tweets, I mean, I can't handle them sometimes. Aboljaman says he would be the current heavyweights in his prime. He's talking about Vladimir Klitschko. Game Over says, why is Pac omitted as fight of the decade candidate? He's not omitted. We haven't even scratched the surface. We haven't even scratched the surface, guys. Aboljaman says, Ward defeated Kellerman's Hole. Oh, come on. Now, wait a minute. Now, see that? Man. You know what? I see we got Stu here. I know. We got Stu on the line. He's going to, put some order into this place.
I wasn't back. I told you what's going to happen to Price. I told you he's going to be sleeping. I told you the ambulance is going to come. The oxygen mask is going to come out. I told you he's going to miss the main event. I told you all them things were going to happen.
All right.
What's up, good fellas?
Stu, good to have you on board. Happy New Year, man.
Happy New Year to you, my man.
As well. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. What did you do to celebrate? A little jellied eels? Maybe a nice little English breakfast?
My dad died 2 days ago, so I'm not really been celebrating.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, come on. Sorry about that, but even New Year is the it's the whitewash. It's a whiteout. Yeah. Everything starts again for the reset button.
My New Year's resolution: get these toxic motherfuckers out of my life. That's a good start. But yeah, it is what it is. I've just not been in a celebration mood. But I'm feeling a bit better today. Time to crack on with life. Life goes on. You know,
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the great.
I've
That's
just been, I've just been getting on with it, and because I've had a bit of a shitty year, I thought, I'm looking at a car, going to buy myself, treat myself to a new car, maybe feel a bit better, go for a little drive to the south of England, stay there for a few days, get away. I think that's what I need to do. So I'm going to treat myself, mate. I think I need it.
Did you get yourself a pussy magnet for a car or just a standard?
Well, it's a pussy magnet. I'm a pussy magnet. I could go in a fucking Reliant Robin. I'm getting pussy. What are you on about? Nah, it's Golf GTI. That's it. It's 17 plate.
Well, I tell you something. I don't know squat about cars, but just by the name, it sounds pretty good. Let me tell you that much right now. It sounds pretty good.
Nearly 20 bags.
20 bags.
Volkswagen GTI.
We got G Boogie too on the house.
It's a good one. Like I said, I've been looking at the BMW. But I just don't want to drive a BMW, man. I just don't want to drive a BMW, man, because every fucker's got one of them, and everyone I know's got one of them is an arsehole. So I don't want to.
Oh, come on, come on.
Well, 78 Sports TV's got a BMW. I don't know, explains it all, doesn't it?
1970 something, yeah.
1978, weren't it? But yeah, what's the show about? Is it about Fighter of the Decade?
Fighter of the Decade, baby. That's what we're talking about tonight. So, guys, we started off talking. Oh, we got Recognize on the line to Recognize. Are you there?
Yes, I am. What's going on, gentlemen?
Hey, good to have you on board. Now, Recognize, just real quick, Stu just informed us that he got himself a new automobile, and he says he doesn't need it to be a pussy magnet because he says he's a pussy magnet. How about you driving around there in Manhattan? It must be pretty clogged, I mean, the traffic's no joke over there. Do you have a standard
nightmare?
Do you have some?
It's a real nightmare driving into Manhattan.
So when you have a car, do you buy a car or do you just travel by subway or public transportation?
No, I always bring my car. Subways are a fucking mess. But traveling, you see, usually I come in purposely. I come in at night. I do everything I do in my job at nighttime, so that way I could beat traffic. Yeah, it's less traffic, exactly.
So Recognize taking a page out of the Son of Sam page.
Son of Sam. I work at night. Everything is at night.
All right, listen.
Zodiac killer.
Listen, guys, we're talking about then Fighter of the Decade because we're going to get to the review of the decade in another episode and the review of the year too, which is something that we didn't get to. But for now, we're going to keep it simple, start the year off slowly. And we're talking about Fighter of the Decade. Bucho mentioned Vladimir Klitschko. Now, obviously, we didn't give it to him Fighter of the Decade, but he deserves an honorable mention. What did you guys think about Klitschko's decade and his career overall in the past decade?
It was, he still had some dominant years, but it ended before the decade ended, right? So he fought to 2016 or 2017, and that was the end of him. That was the end of his prime. So I can't give it to him, although I still think it's a pretty good. He had a pretty good decade in terms of he was still dominant in the 2010s. He just obviously couldn't complete it because of his age. So for me, guys who don't finish the decade or their prominent run, their dominant run ends in a decade cannot get that. In my opinion,
it's a tough one for Fight of the Decade because we're in a decade really where some of the greats have come to the end of it a few years ago, so they've not done enough for them to claim that thing. I mean, some of the young fighters are coming through have just still too young to not really had the fights behind them to be calling them Fight of the Decade. I mean, it's a real tough one. This, I mean, I'd have preferred. I can do a Fight of the Year. I've got that one in my head straight away. But when I think of Fight of the Decade, I mean, I agree with Recognize. I don't think you can give it to Klitschko. I don't think he's done enough. His 2 defeats at the end. I mean, that as well. So, no, Fight of the Decade, that's a tough one. I don't think anyone's been spectacular, to be honest with you, do you? I mean, 10 years.
I know who I'm giving it to. I know who I already have the person in mind, and
yes,
it's a person that I criticize as well. Somebody who I criticize, but I think he still deserves the Fight of the Decade.
Yeah, I think it's just clicked who I'm going to pick. It's not going to be very popular.
Don't do
Mine
it yet,
either.
guys. Don't
Mine
do it
either.
yet.
It's somebody who I've
Oh
criticized and
my.
accused.
Don't do it
of-
yet. Keep us in
I've
suspense.
got, no,
Don't
I've
do it
got a
yet.
feeling
Don't
me and
do it
Recognize
yet.
are going to say the same guy.
No,
Don't
yeah.
say it.
Don't do it. Don't do it yet. Keep us in
No,
suspense
no, I
here.
ain't gonna say that. I ain't
Keep
gonna
us
say
in suspense. All right. We wanna.
People need to
that.
stay
I'll
tuned.
explain why in the end, and I'm sure Stu will do the same thing too.
Well, I hope
I
so.
think Klitschko could be an honorable mention, but it's because he did had a good career, but he lost his last two. Opened up the door. He was out of his prime, but yeah, he's a honorable mention. That's for what he passed it, and you know,
Well, he
but he
definitely
wouldn't
is.
be a fighter of the decade.
Well, he definitely was the heavyweight of the decade in terms of accomplishments. I mean, I wouldn't give it to Joshua. I
Yeah,
wouldn't give it to Wilder. So I mean, it's Vladimir Klitschko all the way for heavyweight of the decade. Um,
why can't even be mentioned because who did he
Actually, I think
fought?
Joshua. I'm sorry, G Boogie. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just saying that Wilder shouldn't even be mentioned because who did he fought? And then the last one he got the decision with Tyson Fury when Tyson Fury should have had won that. But
right.
I guess I'm delusional. I'm the only one that saw that, so I don't know.
I saw it that way too.
See, the thing is, there's a couple of guys in the chat saying about Lomachenko and stuff, but if you're going to go for the decade, you've got to say Usyk has done better things than Lomachenko. I think being undisputed and fighting on the road for a start it's just, I don't know, man. Like I said, if you want to go by skills, pound for pound skills of the decade, then yeah, I'd agree with that one. But I don't know.
Yeah,
man,
I would agree with that. Like pound for pound skills, probably Lomachenko's the best.
Yeah.
Second,
Yep.
Usyk. But if you're talking about like just total accomplishments, there's some guys that eclipse that.
Yeah.
You're nitpicking at this point, right? Like
Yeah.
you're going to be nitpicking at this point.
But it's very tough one because no one's really been no one's been dominant. Like Klitschko had a 10-year period where he dominated, but this decade's, we can't really class this decade as
See, the last decade, Manny Pacquiao just ran through these divisions. I mean, he just like he came out of nowhere, like boom, just like a fucking tornado, just eating up these divisions, and it was just kind of like it's like kind of hard not to pick him. Floyd Mayweather made a great case for himself in terms of the decade. Obviously, people would say, well, he was undefeated. Manny Pacquiao lost the fight. But what Manny Pacquiao did, just going up these weight classes, and I'm going to kind of explain why I picked the fighter for this decade. There's a similarity, not as great, but Manny Pacquiao kind of made it easy to pick him, and that's why, like, I think that's the reason why they went for him. They chose him over Floyd Mayweather and some of the other greats of the past decade. So this was a little difficult for me. I find this one the nobody like really shined without a doubt. Like it's was the overwhelming pick, but
Gennady Golovkin was the most dominant throughout the whole decade.
Yeah, that's a good case.
On.
That's a good case. Like I that's one guy that I'll say it right now. Like I didn't pick him. I wouldn't have a problem with somebody picking him, but he did have a dominant run. I think his resume is shitted on for different reasons. But if you look at the overall body of work, yeah, he deserves mention. For sure.
A lot of people avoided him, didn't want to fight him until just recently. Maybe some fans threw him under the bus, but he could still possibly consider it undefeated. And if he did lose that one time, it was a close fight, and he still recaptured a belt. And he went on that streak of knockouts.
Yeah. Yep. I agree with you, Gonzalo. He's a guy for me that deserved heavy consideration.
And by the way, before we continue, give a shout out to Pete, who just donated with a super chat, and he said, "Who's responsible for the show's graphic? The fans need to know why the bronze bomber was left out. I'm calling Al right now. You racist bastards." Well, thank you, Pete, for sending up straight, and you're right.
You know what, Mr. BDA? I think his super chat didn't pop up because YouTube detected something that it didn't like. I saw that happen before.
Well,
Oh, I got a prediction. In 2020, in the decade of 2020, YouTube they'll destroy themselves in the end.
Yeah.
That's my
yeah, that's what
prediction.
some people are saying. And by the way, Bucho, I think it's because I have it on live. I didn't have it on live chat. I think that's the.
It's a known fact the left will eat itself within. Like I
Yes.
said, like piranhas. They're like piranhas. Once there's a wounded piranha, they all attack it, and that's
come
what
on.
they'll do with the left. As soon as one of these lefties decide that maybe their ideas are a bit fucking far-fetched, a bit fluffy for the real world, and as soon as
Listen,
they know that, the left will turn on them straight away, like they turn on themselves all the time, and before you know it,
I don't want to get into this. I don't want to get into. Are we going to start right off the year? We're going to start talking about
it's the
leftism.
truth. No, I don't want to get into it either. But we're talking about
Let's
the
get Jimmy in
YouTube. YouTube is really left wing, and YouTube will eat itself. The way it's censoring everyone, because all you're going to do is switch people up. You're going to switch advertising off, and
Yeah,
all
that's
sorts.
true.
When you start and it's one-sided as well. I mean, that's
Creativity.
real. It's
Creativity is
stuff.
affected, man. Basically, creativity is affected. People don't want to take any chances. And what type of society is
But
that?
it's a great platform,
It's
man.
like the comedians. Look how the standard of comedians has dropped recently.
Hey,
They can't
listen.
say anything.
Listen.
Somebody's sneezing.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I am a company man till the end. So if YouTube, whatever YouTube wants, I will go ahead and do
You
it.
company man.
That's right. I am a company man. And if they want, and you know what,
Destruction. Headed for self-destruction.
Israel is our greatest ally. All right, let's just put it that way. Now, listen, I just want to say something real quick.
Yes.
We're talking about fight of the year. Now, I told Bucho I know who I wanted as fight of the year. He told me, "Nah, you can't bring him up." And then Bucho went to the board of directors and he told them, he put a gag order and he said, "You cannot mention the guy that you want to mention as fight of the decade." But guess what? You guys know who it is.
Who gave you the gag order? Who gave you the
That's
gag
right.
order? De La Hoya?
That's right. He's right there on the screen. You guys can see him, Ryan Garcia. But obviously, I'm not going to pick him because you guys are going to say, you're crazy, whatever. But I think he deserves honorable mention just for the popularity and for
I heard
the.
he likes to get gag orders, not.
Oh, come on. Now, wait a minute. No.
I'm telling you, man.
Tag Paul.
Okay, come on. We're not going to go there. All right. So, you know what? Somebody mentioned Usyk. That's a guy that I forgot to include in the list because he more or less came out of nowhere, like Lomachenko, and did a lot in a short span of time. I mean, he unified cruiserweight, beat a whole bunch of good fighters, but I think he's a contender.
If there's any guys that can win in my criteria that could have won, not fighting the whole decade, because I think they started in 2013, both Usyk and Lomachenko. It would be those kind of guys. It would be like that kind of talent and those kind of accomplishments. But because there's one guy that I put over them who fought the whole decade, I can't just, I just got to be honest. Even though I don't like this guy, I think there's some foul shit going on over there. But he fits the criteria, and no matter what anyone thinks, he fought the whole decade, and he has. Can I just say who it is?
No,
already?
not yet. Hold your keister, mister. All right. Now, here's the thing about, let's start about the guys that are good contenders for it, but that don't necessarily deserve it. Because you guys are, like Bucho was saying also at the beginning of the show, and like you guys said, some guys started way too late in the decade, and they are top fighters, but they just didn't do enough to be the actual fighter of the decade. One guy that actually started out pretty good the decade, or actually started at about the middle of the decade, is of course Terence Crawford. He started out 2000 by 2014. He beat Ricky Burns in Scotland, by the way, so that's a good win on the road. He beat up Gamboa in an exciting fight. Outboxed Raimundo Beltran, who had something left by then, and that was a very impressive win. Delorme, Dirigeant, Henry Lundy, Victor Postol, John Malin, I'm not going to mention him, Felix Diaz, Indongo, Jeff Horn, Benavides, Amir Khan, and Kaveluskas. And guess what? You got to give him points for knocking most of those guys out, or at least stopping them, and barely losing any rounds, except, of course, for the Postal fight, which I am willing to concede was more closer than I had first realized it. What do you guys think? I mean, Crawford, he obviously is not going to get it, but does he deserve to be mentioned? And how low on the rung should he be, though?
He should be mentioned, but not an impressive resume. he's not. He doesn't have blazing talent. It's just like holy crap, you know. At least for me, he doesn't. He's good fundamentals. He has good fundamentals. He lacks certain things, but you know, look, I give him credit for. I believe he's fought most of the decade, or if not all of it. He's won in 3 different weight classes. He's in terms of accomplishments, he definitely has them. The only problem with him is like who's name the guys he beat is probably going to hurt him somewhat compared to the other guys that I think would deserve it over him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, that final stretch is what really hurts him. And here's an interesting question to you guys. When we're talking about fight of the decade, I think obviously the most important thing, just like when we talk about pound for pound, should be who they beat and how many big wins they had. So how much can we penalize a fighter for their losses? Because you take a look at a guy like Crawford, who's undefeated, but didn't really beat that many great, he didn't beat any monsters. Meanwhile, you have a guy like Pacquiao, who had 4 losses this decade. Let's go to him right now. Manny Pacquiao, he had, like I said, 4 losses.
Did he have 4 losses, right? Because
right.
Yeah, you're right. 100% right. He got
He
4
lost
losses.
the horns.
One was clear. One was clear, the knockout.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
He got knocked out by Juan Man. I don't care what people think about whether Juan Man was on fucking steroids. He still knocked him out, goddammit. It's like, you know, yeah. Like, listen, I get it. I don't trust certain fighters, and he probably would be one of them. But look, he knocked him out. Am I supposed to pretend he didn't knock him out? So no. I love Manny Pacquiao, one of the greatest fighters of all time, probably the best fighter of all time, in my opinion. But he falls short. No.
He fell short, recognized, but he put him on the canvas, and he had broken his nose, and he got flipped with a punch. It was a competitive fight. He was possibly winning. I think he was actually winning.
And I totally agree, Gonzalo. I'm the guy that said I saw it on that fucking. I still can't find that video. I'm the one that said I saw Marquez right after the fight say, basically, if he don't land that punch, he quits. That's basically what he said in Spanish. He was in deep shit.
But we got to keep in mind, man, we're talking about, Gonzalo, everything you said was right. It was a very close fight. And both guys were really one punch away in hindsight nowadays, looking back at it. Each guy was one punch away from ending the fight. At the end of the day, we're talking about the results, what actually happened. And Pacquiao, he had that devastating loss by knockout. He did lose against Mayweather. Now, I know some of you guys are going to say maybe you gave it to Pacquiao.
Bradley.
The Bradley loss was the Bradley and Jeff Horn
loss.
losses.
The result is what counts, right?
Yeah, but then that's the thing. That's why I asked at a couple of minutes ago. I said, how much do we penalize a guy for the losses when he also had some tremendous wins and some record-setting type?
Yeah. Forget about the losses. Yeah. Losses are we talk about achievements.
Losses are just the results of all the guys you have fought, like in Manny Pacquiao's case, right? So if you look at his resume, having a loss is like, okay, look at all the guys he's gotten in the ring with.
Right.
Mayweather. He fought Mayweather. He fought in the decade. I'm just going to name a few guys. He fought Mayweather. He fought Timothy Bradley 3 times. He fought Marquez. No, he fought Cotto in 2009. So
yeah,
you can't count
who are you
that.
talking about? Floyd or Pacquiao?
No, Pacquiao.
Pacquiao fought. Oh yeah, it's true. Sorry, Floyd fought him in 2012. Okay, go ahead.
Right. So I mean, Floyd's resume is impressive too. If I have to be honest, it is. The only problem is that he ended his halfway through. So
that's right.
2015. I'm not counting Conor McGregor. I mean, that's insane, right?
No,
that's not a boxer. You fought an MMA guy. His last real opponent, real boxer he fought was Berto. So that was his last 2015. That's where I stopped. So to me, he's not, an impressive resume, of course, but in terms of the guys that
I don't know about that. That's debatable.
I mean, well, he did fight Manny Pacquiao. He fought Cotto. Yeah. He fought Miguel Cotto.
A non-trained Cotto.
He fought twice with Maidana.
Madonna, he lost the first one.
He fought Canelo.
Canelo, he dehydrated him.
Right. I mean, listen. There's all.
I can keep
but
going.
I totally agree with what you're saying. But his resume is impressive in terms of like, in terms of like the guys.
Yeah, but let's be real. The fucking Pacquiao fight was the last meaningful fight he had. How long ago was that?
Yeah, no, I agree. That's why I don't give him. That was almost like 5 years ago. That's why I don't give him.
Half a fucking decade ago. What are we going to give a guy
it's true.
half a decade?
Yeah, you're right.
I'm not giving him.
No, but anyone that wants us to, then you can get out of here, man. What are we going to give him that?
No.
Listen, when you read that resume, some good names there, aren't there? You can't deny that. It's some real top names there. And Floyd has got a good resume. And there's situations behind some of them fights. Obviously, catch weights and the way Floyd does things. That's why people don't want to give him credit for that. But at the end of the day, when you read that, in 20, 30 years, the boxing history is going to read that resume and think, it's not a bad resume. But for me, you can't give a guy like fight of the decade for half a decade's work. But it's very difficult because who has been dominant for a decade? I mean, these guys don't even fight each other, so it's not like they've got good wins, good resumes. It's just a very tough one. This is.
All right, guys, hold that.
The year as well.
Yeah, hold that thought. Hold those thoughts. We already have 2 phone calls, so let's just go real quick to the phone line, see what people are saying. We got 804. You're on the air. 804.
What's up, fellas? This is D Jefferson, man. What's going on with y'all guys?
Oh, D, how you doing, man?
What's up, D?
Same old.
D, the Godfather Jefferson. What's up, my brother?
What's up, G Boogie? So, is it the fight of the decade? Is what we're talking about?
That's right.
Yep. Fight of the decade.
Yeah, man. I'm still working on it. I mean, the 3 guys you guys are talking about, the 2 y'all talking about, I would assume Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. I'm really just looking at all 3 of the guys. I'm actually looking at Canelo involved in it too, just because of the amount of fights he had. Floyd had less fights than all the other 2 guys. We got to kind of look at that too. Like, they fought more times than he did. Canelo only lost to Floyd. I mean, which is not bad. That's not a bad loss to take if you're only losing to Floyd Mayweather. And then, just multiple classes, multiple belts. It's kind of hard for me, but I'm narrowing it down to those 3 guys. I really can't see anybody else being ahead of those 3 guys, Manny Pacquiao, Floyd, and Canelo.
Now,
it's just
do you take
cons. I mean, it's arguments for all of those guys.
Do you take some points away from Mayweather for those red boots that he was wearing a couple of years ago during the decade?
Yes, I do.
Man. I mean, I hold strikes against them, BDA. Don't get me wrong, bro. That's the thing with all of these guys. They got a lot of good going for them, but then they got strikes against them too. Like I said, Floyd fought the least amount of time, but Manny Pacquiao lost the most fights. You know what I mean? Canelo had a lot of, tomfoolery involved with his fight. So all of them got strikes against them, but also all of them have a lot of good things to say about why they deserve to be fight of the decade as well. You know what I mean?
Are you deducting points from Pacquiao because he had some losses?
No. I'm just saying, like, when people talk about when they go to knock, what the fight or what takes away from what they did, it's got to be said that he had 4 losses. Now, of course, they were good losses, and I always take that into account. Like, you can lose to some bums, or you can lose to some guys that are reputable losses. And when you look at the losses that Manny Pacquiao took, it in my opinion, it goes under that category. You're talking about Floyd Mayweather and Marquez and Timothy Bradley, so it's not like he lost to some bums. You know what I mean? He lost to reputable fighters.
I think the fact Pacquiao has a Keith Thurman win it puts him ahead of Floyd for me anyway, because he's still fighting. He has a Furman win in the last 5 years that Floyd hasn't. So for me, he's ahead of Floyd.
I get what D. Jefferson is saying, because you're
Yeah.
kind of nitpicking when you're doing the fighter of the decade. This is the most prestige. It's a prestigious award to be named the fighter of the decade. But I agree with you, Stu, that look, first of all, Manny Pacquiao is ahead of Floyd, and this is my opinion, of all-time greats, because he outlasted him. When they fought, no statement was made. It was a Mexican standoff. Okay, and we both pulled out our guns. Nothing happened. Okay, so basically,
it was like watching a French army take on an Italian army.
Oh, come on.
Retreat.
Come on. Now, wait a minute.
Exactly.
No.
So nothing happened. No statement was made, right? So you can't bump them off each other. But Manny Pacquiao outlasted him, and that counts for something, in my opinion. People could say, well, Manny Pacquiao needed the money. Floyd was better, equipped with money. That's not true, because Floyd did come back and fought for money. And he fought it against non-boxers. Okay, he fought non-boxers where, to Stu's point, I mean, say what you want, Manny Pacquiao has a win against Keith Thurman, the next generation, who is one of the top guys at welterweight, and clearly, in my opinion, he clearly beat him. There was no argument about that. Good fight from the young guy, but you clearly 100% lost, in my opinion.
Well,
and that's an amazing
and he bashed at Broner as well, didn't he? So I mean,
right, he beat Broner. He beat Broner the Clown. He beat the more serious, up and coming fighter, and Keith Thurman, and dominated him. So yeah, that's a great.
I think that Jeff Horn defeat is just a haunter, isn't it? When you look at the resume, it's just a stinker.
And he beat the shit out of Jeff Horn, in my opinion, bro.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, we know. Listen, we know that if you would have stopped that fight, nobody would have argued after the 9th round. Nobody would have argued with you and say that was a Pacquiao political. The guy was in the hospital because of that 9th round.
All right, listen, D, anything else you want to say before we move on?
No, that's about it. I'm just I'll put my video out eventually, but it's going to be one of those 3 guys. I just think it's an interesting argument, and then they all have pros for them and all have cons. So y'all fellas take care, man. I just wanted to give my piece on that real quick.
All right, fantastic, D. Thank you for calling in, and check out D. Jefferson's channel, and he's gonna drop that video pretty soon and give us a more in-depth discussion about who he had as fighter of the decade. So thank you, D, for calling in. We'll catch you on the next one. All right. Oops. All right. So we got another phone call here. 805. You're on the air. Air 805.
Jesus. Oh, 805 is cool.
Wait a minute.
Hey, what's up, man? What's happening, guys? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Who is this?
It's Michael Stott.
Oh, it's Michael. All right. Hey, Michael. I forget, man. I mean, it's been about 2 weeks.
There's Dr. 805, and then there's
it's been a decade, hasn't it? It's been a decade.
Yeah, it's been a decade, yeah. Sure.
Anyways.
I think Dr. 805 is related to Stott. I don't know how.
Maybe they're the same person. Yeah, maybe they're the same person. Or maybe Michael broke into the guy's house and he's got him locked up in the basement.
He's been living there for
he's walking around. He's walking around with the guy's bathrobe. Was that Michael? Sorry.
No, they are trying to take my license, so I do have to appear in court pretty soon.
Your license, your massage therapist license?
Yeah,
all right.
My doctor's license.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Your doctor's license. Well, you don't want that to happen.
All right, Michael.
Yeah,
so
somebody's suing me for malpractice, some shit.
So who did you have as fighter of the year?
Anyway.
I mean, decade. Fighter of the decade, Michael.
Oh, I mean, it hurts to say it, but I have to admit it. Well, check it out. I got exclusive footage of the two, pretty much the past and the future of boxing,
Mm-hmm.
So the past, the winner of this decade is going to be Canelo, right? And this next decade coming up is going to be Ryan Garcia.
That's right,
back
baby.
to back.
Michael, what is your obsession with Ryan Garcia? I mean, because I find it very bizarre. I mean, I could understand if he was
kind of looks like
Scott.
He kind of looks like him.
No, the thing is, though, Michael's got an obsession with probably the prettiest boxer in boxing. This guy's got homosexual written all over him, and Michael has. That's the guy he's chosen. I mean, who's his second favourite fighter? Orlando Cruz. I mean, where are we going here, Michael?
Hey, come on.
Don't get me upset now.
Don't get me upset, there's two, because if you talk bad about Ryan Garcia, you're stepping in there against myself as well.
I can understand if he said it was someone like Golovkin or Canelo. It's Ryan Garcia we're talking about here, a guy that
lathered up Ryan Garcia,
the guy that wears mascara and stuff.
He's got the whole package, though. That's what I'm saying. It's not just the talent; he's got it all.
That's right,
admit, Stu. That's like sex sells, Stu. So I mean, it goes with it. This is a business.
Stu can handle the future.
Boxing's a business.
Yes, Stu can't handle it. He can't handle a proud gay man being the next fighter of the decade. Why is that, Stu? What do you get against him?
Listen, right? I don't look. I'm old school, right? I don't care. You go and do what you want, right?
And I will.
Oh, come on, this is boxing we're talking about here. We're gonna fucking. Caitlyn Jenner's going to make a fucking
yes.
When's it going to stop? Are we going to have Caitlyn Jenner v Kelly Maloney in on an undercard of one of Hearn's fucking matches? You know what I mean? Where does it stop? I mean, I don't mind if a fighter's homosexual, but Ryan Garcia is. I'm not saying Ryan Garcia is homosexual. I'm just saying he's got all the tendencies, and it's very bizarre that Michael. As attracted to him, sort of thing. He's one of his trained fighters.
Whoa, Michael. Let's just. Can you just clarify?
I was attracted to the guy.
Exactly. Just clarify.
That's what he's thinking, man.
He's just acknowledging that he's.
If I ever get Ryan Garcia and I trap him in an elevator or something, here's what I'm going to be telling him.
You're going to be lathering him up.
That's right.
One never knows when the homosexual is about.
Listen, the point is, Michael is not saying that he's attracted to Ryan Garcia. He's saying he's got it all. He's the total package, and he has everything necessary to become the next fighter of the decade. That's what he's saying, Stu. I don't know why you're getting upset about that.
No, I'm not upset. I'm not upset. I just find it bizarre that out of all the boxers, he chooses him. Listen, let's move on, innit? You know.
All right. Michael, I'll give you the last word. Michael,
another prediction, BDA. Check this prediction out. This one's even more bizarre.
I bet.
I promise you, before the end of the decade, that Chavez Jr. will have a sex change. I promise you.
Bro, that's not really.
He's gonna lose his marbles.
You're not going out of the limb on that one.
He's starting to color his hair weird rainbow colors, and he's wearing women's tights when he works out. Kind of questioning where his future's headed, man.
You know what?
I have a feeling you're gonna see De La Hoya change.
He's gonna be hanging with De La Hoya more and Ryan Garcia.
There'll be a sex change in De La Hoya's life.
I think Michael's right, and I can just imagine his father, Chavez Jr. I mean, Chavez Jr.'s father, Chavez Sr. He's gonna sit him down at some point, and this is what's gonna tell him after his transition.
Wait.
No, he's gonna tell him this.
What the hell's wrong with you? Look like a Puerto Rican whore.
That's right. He's gonna be wearing so much makeup. He's gonna look like a Puerto Rican whore. Now, Michael, we gotta move on. But anything else you want? We'll give you the last word on the Chavez being a tranny.
Yeah,
and,
no. Who's his fighter of the decade? I would like to know.
Oh, come on.
If he says Ryan Garcia, I'm out of here.
It's a golden boy sweep. It's going to be Canelo with this Canelo mob. They're
good choice,
you got to admit it, guys. They took over boxing. I know we got Floyd and Manny Pacquiao, but they're old. You know what I mean? And the youth, they see Canelo as the guy, and in the future is going to be Garcia when Canelo retires. I'm telling you.
Hey, Michael, that's a good choice.
Got a lot of work to do.
Don't forget.
It's a very good choice, Michael.
Michael, don't remind me next time to send you.
I was recording them working out.
Okay, come on. Okay, did you just say you were recording them working out?
Yeah, check it out. Go to my channel. There, I was recording them working out.
All right. Well, that doesn't sound.
Were they in Oxnard? They were in Oxnard. Stott.
No, not there, but it was in the area, LA.
Oh, okay.
In the area. That's North Hollywood, or what's the gay?
Night Stalker.
Yeah. Anyway, listen,
Well,
Michael. Think
You're not in the Bay Area, are you? With Bay Area?
No, Oxnard is in Southern Cal. It's part of LA County, right? Oxnard.
Yeah, Oxnard is upper LA.
Yeah, so that's like that's all part of.
I thought Stoke was from Oakland. I don't know why I thought that.
All right, listen, Michael, we got to move on, but thank you for calling in, and we'll catch you in the next one. All right, man?
Okay. All right.
Take it easy, man.
Later.
All right. He's going to be sending me the Ryan Garcia year-end calendar in a couple of days.
Yeah.
He already has it, I think. And by the way, in the chat room, Jonathan Vickland says, yeah, I'm going to take a smoke break, and you can tell the panel to get the Triple G drooling out of the way while I'm gone, so I don't have to see through all the excuses they make for him. When have we ever made excuses for Gennady Golovkin?
Wait, somebody even mentioned Golovkin at this point?
Not yet. That's what he's saying. He's saying, "Get out."
That's
of the
when
way
you
now.
play. That's when you play your card.
For...
Jonathan just played his cards a little too early. And,
yeah, he did. Huh?
You gotta know when to show your cards, brother. You're showing them.
Well, someone in the chat wants me to tell the panel to get the drooling of Golovkin out the way while he goes for a cigarette and a coffee. So obviously he doesn't want to hear the Golovkin praise, and then Budjo goes and mentions Golovkin just as I was reading that. So it's a funny coincidence, but yeah, I mean, for me, I don't think. Well, I think you all know, I really highly rate Gennady Golovkin, but he certainly won't be my fighter of the decade.
By the way,
stayed at middleweight too long for me.
Yeah,
should have gone up and proved, because he would have beat most of them guys at super middleweight in his prime. He'd have gone for all of them. Froch would have been the hardest one for him, and Andre Ward obviously would have been very hard for him. But he'd have beat the rest. But he just never tried it. And for me, that's.
Did he have to move up in weight though? I mean, why not just stay in his division and try to dominate?
If he was getting the fights that he wanted at middleweight, a lot of guys were ducking him at middleweight. Let's be honest. If he was getting a fight, then no, he didn't have to move up. But even Hopkins moved up eventually, didn't he? Let's be real. Even Hopkins moved up. I would have liked Golovkin, because I've seen Golovkin basically struggling at that weight for a while now. Like I said, the big bear camps were taking a lot out of him. He's going into the ring at 60%, and it's costing him in some of these fights, because at 100% he beats Canelo the first time. Clearly, they can't even rob that. I mean, the fight with Jacobs, he's going to win that more dominant. That was a poor performance, So I just think maybe the struggling at the weight. He's a big, powerful guy. Look at the muscles on the guy. I think if he'd have gone up super middleweight, it'd have been perfect for him, and he'd gone through them guys. But he never did.
Hey Stu, I got a question for everybody. Did y'all know that Abel Sanchez used to train what's his name? Yuri Campos.
Yuri Boy Campos.
Yeah, and that's when I saw him fight Felix Trinidad.
Yep, Trinidad broke his nose or some shit like that.
In the fourth,
he got knocked down in the first round.
Yeah, he knocked Trinidad.
Stopped him in the fourth.
Yuri Boy Campos was a good fighter. He's a good fighter. Yeah, he's just that when he fought Trinidad, I think that broken nose made him like not bring his all into like every fight afterwards.
Remember when he fought De La Hoya and he showed up with a guy from the mountains, like a witch doctor, and he was drinking a potion supposedly that was gonna make him stronger.
He was drinking some.
I used to go to his fights live. Yeah, I used to go to his fight. He just fought recently, up until like last month. He was still fighting.
He's still fighting.
50 or something.
Yep.
Whoa! How old is he? 77. Poor guy. I mean, poor guy.
Yeah,
it's his
he's
choice.
got an iron chin.
He's in his 40s.
He got an iron chin. He was always technically limited. That's why he never really. He became world champion, but.
Well, I remember when he fought.
Became weak. Yeah.
I remember when he fought Trinidad. Just real quick, I remember when he fought Trinidad, he was like 52-0 or something like that, and people were saying he was going to be the next Chavez. Boy, did that
he was 51-0 with 49 or 50 knockouts, something like that.
That's an impressive record until you look at it and you see he never fought anybody up until then. All right, Buccio, was that? All right, let's move on. So, Gennady Golovkin, look, listen, I know Jonathan Vickland doesn't like Gennady Golovkin. He thinks we're slobbering all over his dick. But like Stu said, we can't give it to Gennady Golovkin. Fight of the decade is something like being an all-time great. You have to do more and you have to go above and beyond to get that title. And I agree. I gave him the fight against Canelo the first time, and I actually gave it to him slightly the second one as well. But officially, he did not get the results, and he beat Jacobs. I mean, let's go back to his career here, real quick. You got to give him the Kasim Uma fight in 2011, and Proska. That was a good win at the end of the 2012. That's when he really came out on HBO, and everybody was impressed. Rosado, Matthew Macklin, Curtis Steven, Daniel Gill, Rubio, Murray, Monroe Jr., David Lemieux. And you got to keep in mind, these are all stoppage wins, by the way. I mean, he did not go the distance until 2017 against Jacobs, and even then he managed to drop Jacobs and hurt him. And then, of course, after...
That fight, I thought that fight was quite close, though, to be honest with you. I had him winning, but I thought it wasn't a dominant performance. It wasn't a... I thought Canelo beat Jacobs. Close. I thought Canelo beat Jacobs a lot more comfortable than Golovkin did. Let's just say that.
I agree.
Yeah, but
take into account that
you got to look at it like this.
Hold on.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Gonzalo.
He was really big, and he was choosing to box from the outside. He didn't really want to engage Golovkin. He was running. He was on his bicycle.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. But that's Golovkin.
Hey, Canelo had
that's for Golovkin to work that out and cut off the angles, because Golovkin is one of the best in the business at cutting off the angles. But I watched that fight, and I don't think it was to do with Jacobs running. I thought it was more to do with Golovkin just not letting his hands go at the right time. He just seemed very hesitant to throw punches. I mean, like I said, I don't know what it was. Maybe he'd fucking left.
He got
a
190-pound man in front of him.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. I agree. He was holding back, but I think that...
So a big guy stopped you throwing punches?
Well, Jacobs, I think
just
Jacobs
that he was hesitant.
I think Jacobs has something to say about that. We got to give Jacobs a little credit, Stu, because he let him know, you run through me with no care in the world, you're gonna get fucking...
Golovkin was slow though. He was getting beat.
Yeah, he was getting slow.
He was getting slower. In the exchanges, I know Jacobs wasn't landing the cleaner shots. He was kind of slapping, but he was faster. So
he did something that Canelo didn't do. He did something Canelo couldn't do. He knocked his ass down, and Canelo had to put the weight stipulation on Jacobs. Golovkin said, "I'll fight him the way the hell he is."
Yeah.
So come on.
Of course, he was a different Jacobs in the sense that Jacobs ballooned up to God knows what.
Yeah. Also listen. But
if Jacobs is that big, surely that means Jacobs slowed down. So if Jacobs is 180 pounds, like everyone was saying, 190, some people were saying, right? Then surely that slowed him down massively. If Golovkin still couldn't get to him, I mean that's alarming in itself.
Yeah, Golovkin, no matter what. No, that's a good. Golovkin, no matter what he looked slow. We gotta
right. He looked slow.
And let's be real, like Jacob. The reason that fight was close, Golovkin was throwing the much cleaner punches, doing the more damage. But Jacobs was constantly busy. He was throwing punches in bunches, and Golovkin just covers up. He doesn't counter punch. So it looks on the eye, it looks like Jacobs is winning the fight. But if you know your boxing and how to score a fight properly, you'll know that Golovkin won the fight. But it's very, very close. And like I said, that was his two toughest opponents he's had to fight. He's lost one of them. I mean, arguably, in people's eyes, he won both of them. But I had him losing the Canelo second fight. I had him winning the first one. And the Jacobs fight was very close as well. So he's not exactly dominated his division for me. And that's why he can't be the fight of the decade.
But one thing, if it's easy to I want to say criticize, to point out that Golovkin is not that fast. One thing you could also point out that's positive, he's never been hurt or wobbled. Who can go through a whole without even being hurt?
That's an amazing thing about him. Yeah. I mean, the closest I saw was fucking this guy. The last fight he did. Derevyanchenko, who's catching him on the back end of his career. Let's be honest, he's 37. That's the back end of your career. So it took a guy like him to finally, buzz him. I mean, think about the fights, the 24 rounds he had with Canelo. Not a fucking thing. Canelo didn't do shit to him with those punches. It did nothing to him.
The best chin in boxing. Him and Canelo Alvarez have got the best chins in boxing by a country mile.
Yeah,
agree.
I do agree with that.
I could give Golovkin two things already. He was the most dominant middleweight for the entire decade, that's for sure. And he had the most dominant chin, probably in the entire decade.
Yeah.
You know what?
Do you know what, right? Do you know when I started realizing how special Canelo Alvarez was? When Golovkin hit him with everything he had, and the guy was smiling at him, I just thought, this guy. I mean, this is a young kid as well. You know, he's not a mature man yet. He's in his prime, and I think he's going to get better. He's got a couple of more years in him, and he's going to really peak. But when he was taking them shots, and then see the first fight, I don't believe he believed he could win. I thought he went in there thinking that he was going to get knocked out, and he fought like that for me. And then when he realised he could take Golovkin shots, and Golovkin wasn't this monster everyone was making him out to be, he came in the second fight. Well, even at the end of the first fight, started letting his hands go and tagging Golovkin up. I mean, you've only got to look at Golovkin's face in the second fight. I mean, it looked like he'd been hit by a fucking truck. So I think that was all confidence. I think the first fight, it got Canelo confident in the second one. That's why he won that one. But for me, Golovkin won the first.
Well, I got to say something about that.
I look at it like this. Yeah, Canelo do have a good chin. Golovkin do have a good chin. But even in that fight that he fought with Kovalev, if you look at one of the rounds that Kovalev actually said, you know what, let me show you something. Boom! And landed that right hand. Canelo got dizzy. He got wobbled. He did a stinky leg for like one or 2 seconds. And then he turned around and then ate it and just kept going back to his corner. But he was stinky leg on, I forgot what round was it.
Ninth round.
Yeah, it was the 9th round. If he would have really pressed the issue, that's why I think, you know, I keep that to my own comment.
Yeah, but like I said, I mean,
yeah,
you
me
know,
too. I'll take the Bucho route. He was too drained.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, still the guys in the chat. The guys in the chat are making all the excuses up why Golovkin got beaten. I said, and calling Canelo everything. Canelo's name is definitely toxic on this show, and I don't. You know, are we going to start giving credit where it's due? Juiced up to the gills. Are you telling me? Listen, let's be real. If the drug tests were fair these days, there'd be a lot more being caught that juiced up to the gills.
Oh hell yeah!
So let me tell you something about that.
And Canelo, he done his punishment, right? And he's a special fighter. If you can't see that, you don't know boxing. If you can't see talent in Canelo Alvarez, and you've got no business listening to this show, even being on the boxing community. That's just how it is to me.
Well, let me tell you something.
It's like when people say Lomachenko shit and all that, like, oh, he's a bum. I mean, I can't take people like serious. I'll never interact with people.
Well, you know what? Let me say something about Canelo, because Canelo and Golovkin and Jean Pascal definitely chins of the decade for sure. These motherfuckers, it's very hard to fight. Just put them on the floor, let alone hurt them. I mean, it's just very impressive. But the bottom line with Gennady Golovkin, because we got to move on from him, he doesn't get the fight of the decade. He had a pretty good decade, and for a while there, he was looking unstoppable. But as soon as he fought guys that were on his other monsters like Jacobs and Canelo, all of a sudden he started looking a little more human. But nevertheless, I mean, who could have done really? I mean, do you think Canelo could have stopped Macklin and Murray the way Golovkin did?
Oh, Canelo would fucking sleep them in a heartbeat.
No. If you're asking me when Golovkin did it, when he beat guys like
Macklin, the body shot.
Macklin maybe because he's a guy that runs out of gas.
Listen, Canelo knocked out Kovalev, man. You think he's not knocking out Matthew Macklin? Come on now.
No, but I said as good as Golovkin did. I said as good as Golovkin did. Yeah, but that's what I said.
Canelo would have not stopped him. No.
Well, I think he would have stopped Macklin. He would have stopped
Macklin.
Hold on. Yeah, he would have stopped Macklin. What I'm saying is, I don't think he would have beaten them as impressively as Golovkin did. That's what I'm saying. Because what I'm saying is that
destroyed those guys.
Exactly. What I'm saying is that run that he had in 2012 to 2017.
Canelo that just beat Kovalev, right? I know everybody loves that victory, right? Because obviously he went up 2 weights.
Right.
The Golovkin that ran through Murray, Macklin, and all those guys like they were nothing. That Triple G still beats this. That Triple G beats Canelo for me.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing is though,
he was a younger man too.
Would Golovkin that was running through them guys? Would he have gone up and beat Kovalev at the time?
Kovalev.
I know it's a different. I know it's a different Kovalev. So I'm not comparing them before all you guys start fucking pulling out your tampons and tampaxes. I'm having So
Kovalev that beats Andre Ward.
I'm just
in the
asking.
first fight. I don't think neither Triple G or
me neither.
Canelo. He sleeps.
Yeah, I think
he
Kovalev
sleeps
beats
Canelo.
That was the last Kovalev.
He makes Canelo quit, and he beats Golovkin in a 12-round decision.
That was the last good Kovalev, the one that fought Andre Ward the first time. After that, I mean, we saw what happened in the second fight. And
well, he looked pretty good against the later Alvarez in the rematch. But anyway,
yeah,
listen.
Who is this guy? I mean, are we gonna go?
All right,
back?
all right.
Hold on.
Let's go to the phone call.
Also,
Let's
one
go
more
to the
thing,
phone.
BD,
Hold on,
Okay.
Gonzalo, hold on. Yeah, just real quick. We got to go to the phone call real quick. 585, you're on the air. 585.
Oh, buddy.
How you guys doing? This is Vince.
Oh, Chris. Okay. Hey, how you doing, Vinny?
Vinny!
Happy New Year, man.
How you doing there, Vince?
Hey, Vinny boy.
How you guys doing? Happy New Year. This year I'm going to hit it hard this year, and hopefully I can be two-time caller of the year. Thank you to all my fans.
What were you?
Head
Honcho won it. Vinny, you didn't hear the news?
Honcho won, buddy. Okay, we got to go. Bye.
No, please elaborate.
Via robbery. Let me
No,
check
there was a surge. There was a surge of postal votes that came in.
Listen, let me tell you what happened.
Unfortunately, you're on the wrong end of them.
You're that guy that started celebrating before the bell rang, and you got knocked out. That's what happened.
Well, like I said,
PBC Al Heyman voted for unanimous for head honcho.
Yeah, Vinny did a Deontay Wilder against Fury, didn't he? Did the little chicken dance when Fury was out thinking he'd won, and then all of a sudden, Honcho does the Undertaker and gets back up again, doesn't he? And starts piling it on, and he nicks it at the end. So
yeah, Vinny. In other words,
congratulations to Head Honcho.
Wait a minute. Are you guys saying? Are you guys saying you didn't give it to H Money?
No, I voted. I think I voted Vinny. I think I voted for Vinny. I think he deserved it.
Hey, Vinny, I voted for you, but I think Honcho won. So it happens. That's what happens.
All right, Vinny.
Thank you guys, and I will be. Yes.
Let's make it quick, man. Let's make it snappy because we got a lot to get through. Fighter of the decade. Who did you have as fighter of the decade?
Yeah, I'm really interested in this.
Sure. Yes. I have Canelo Alvarez as a fighter of the decade. Just look at his resume, guys. He fought Shane Mosley, Josecito Lopez.
Oh, come on. This guy's... Out of all the names you can name, you're naming these people?
Hey, I mean, all them names, and he comes out with Josecito Lopez.
hey, Vinny, go fuck yourself. Bye.
Come on. Wait a minute.
Bye, Vinny.
Excuse me. Hold on, sir.
I changed my mind. I voted for Head Honcho.
Yeah, I voted for Head Honcho too. Bye.
Sure, we break some balls.
I'm kidding, Vinny. Go ahead.
No.
I need you guys.
Go ahead, Vinny. The floor is yours,
I need
man.
you guys to stop jumping to conclusions, okay? I'm just naming names here. Names that you guys know. If they're bums, keep it to yourself. Thank you. Alfredo Angulo, Arislandy Lara, James Kirkland, Miguel Cotto, Amir Khan, Liam Smith, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., the quitter.
Why are you laughing at the Brit? What's this? A Brit gets named and everyone starts laughing. What's this? An anti-British agenda going on at the BDA at the moment?
He had me at Angulo. I was laughing my ass off on Angulo.
Well, just don't mention Rocky Fielding, whatever you do.
You're going up the ladder? Is that what you're doing? You're starting from the bottom, working to the top? Is that what you're doing, Vinny?
Yes. And
oh my God.
just listen to the names, guys. You cannot deny this guy.
Yeah, those names are garbage.
At 175.
No, Vinny's right, though. Vinny's right.
This is amazing, guys.
Vinny, man, how come every time you call, you start getting more and more congested?
So that Pepsi.
I'm still under the weather, Mr.
I'm
BDA,
sick of your excuses. You're always high.
Davis has sick boxing skills as well. Also, I just want to elaborate. I had an email, and someone on the show told me that they're really mad when you guys interrupt me. So I would love to have the floor every once in a while and not get interrupted. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
I'll tell you how it works around here. We call the shots around here, not you, Vinny.
Oh.
How about that?
Yeah, Mr. Stu, I'm going to start calling you Stuart Little due to the fact that you've gotten your recent predictions wrong. And
Get out.
I need an explanation for your next prediction. Thank you, Mr. Stu.
You don't get an explanation, okay?
Well, I can't remember the. I mean, I've been getting the rounds wrong, but I've been getting a couple of results right. I'm sorry I don't get the round right, but I've been getting results right. And there's a few of them I've missed, actually. A few of the prediction shows I've been off.
Yeah, it's called it.
I don't know where you're going with that one, Vinny.
You know
Very
what?
disappointing,
You know what?
so.
Vinny's the type of guy that as soon as he gets out of college, when he goes to his first job interview, he starts making all these outlandish demands. I want 100 grand. I want a company car. I want a front office with a front view window, rear view. I mean, come on, Vinny. You're...
Yeah, I know. Vinny wants a trophy for predicting fucking mismatches.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guys, I
not
truly believe the reason I'm getting the caller of the year is because people they accept the truth. They want the truth, and the truth is out there, and I give it to them, guys.
Yeah,
on a weekly basis, or on a daily basis. On this,
the truth is out there. I thought the truth was within someone.
You know what I think, Vinny? I think you rigged the voting. I don't know how you did it.
Yeah, I think you rigged it.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to the bottom of this.
Therefore,
you did a Hillary Clinton.
Vinny's got 40 YouTube accounts just for this trophy. Isn't
Is that Mr.
Create
J
40
Booger
email addresses and all
from the
sorts
chat?
for it.
Is that who?
I said you created
that
40
Mr.
email
J
addresses and
Booger
40
from the
YouTube
chat?
accounts and just started voting.
Hold on. He says, "Is that Mr. G Boogie from the chat?" Yeah, that's Mr. G Boogie.
Yes, that
that's
is.
Boogie.
What do you got to say now?
I called him J Booger for short.
You
like kicking
took a cheap
boogers?
shot
What'd
at
you
you. G. Call you Jay Booger.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
Vinny Smack. Really?
How you doing, Mr. J
That's all you can come up with?
That's
Shots
right,
fired.
cocksucker. That's right, cocksucker. Sure, we break some balls here tonight.
Listen, with that type
Goddamn right.
with that type of material that Vinny's bringing, I'm pretty now you can see why he became the caller of the year. I mean, this guy, he's got it all, man. Nasally voice.
Our audience has low standards.
Well, that's what BDA box is all about. Low standards, what's that? All right, listen, Vinny, we got to move on, man. But
Vinny, listen, man. Good call.
Yeah, good call.
Go somewhere.
You're not important.
Yourself and just don't do it on the air.
All right, Vinny, go get your Pepsis.
Recognize. I think you forgot something.
All right.
Recognize. I think you forgot something.
Yeah, go fuck yourself, Vinny. Bye.
Thank you.
Switch to Diet Pepsi.
All right,
Thank
Vinny.
you guys, and I'll call back on the next show. Thank you guys.
Well, hold on, Vinny. Vinny, before you go, hold on, Vinny.
Yes.
Before you go, go get some allergy medicine, and also don't forget my proposal, as I have to do every end of your call. The offer's still out there. I can take you under my wing and mentor you, and really get your boxing IQ up to a high level, Mensa level.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm talking about?
He has a track record of turning douchebags into bigger douchebags. So
Yes, mister.
I think you should take his offer.
Evolve.
He will do the same thing what he did to Ryan Garcia.
He'll make you a star. Okay.
Oh, you know what, you guys, you like talking shit about me, right? Oh, yeah.
You can talk.
Oh yeah, but let me tell you something.
BDA, apologies in the chat. Keep talking about all these men that you like and how you like your men and stuff.
Are you shocked by that?
All right, you see.
I mean, apologies got a cheek. He spends most of his life. Apologies got a cheek. He spends most of his life in a gym next to men, sweating.
That's right.
You guys have been talking.
Apologies spends his time looking in the mirror.
You guys have been talking.
I
Apologies,
lost my temper.
apologies like that big black dude in White Chicks, innit? You know.
All right, now listen. This is going too far. By the way,
Hey,
Vinny.
anybody mentioned Terence Crawford as a potential?
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, missed.
And by the way, Vinny hung up. He had enough of us, and he didn't even get to say yes or no to my proposal. But anyway, listen.
Vinny, Vinny. I just want to say one thing. Vinny's a good guy. I like him, but he's a little too arrogant. So if Honcho wins, it's well deserved.
I like how you
Honestly,
tells the guy.
I don't want Honcho to win anything in life. Really.
Oh, come on. Yeah. I like how Recognize tells the guy to go fuck himself. He insults him, insults his IQ, and then at the end he says, "Nah, he's a good guy." Yeah, that works. That's
I
how it
like
works.
him. He's a good sport.
And he still calls Recognize Mr. Recognize.
That's right.
He's still got respect in the Albany.
He has morals.
No. Wait a second. He has taken cheap shots at me. He called me unrecognizable.
Oh,
That's the Pepsi talking, man.
Yeah.
Can I say one more thing about Triple G?
Yes, please. Let's get back on track.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's another distinction he's got that throughout the whole entire decade, he knocked out everybody, and the guys that he didn't knock out, he dropped, with the exception of Canelo. Now, you mentioned, Mr. BDA, that when he stepped up, okay, this was an older version of Golovkin. When he stepped up, those two fights with Canelo were close. He definitely won one, and the other one was really, like, close. And the other against Jacobs, he dropped, and he won. So, I mean, this last one against Lomachenko, okay, yeah, he won it on paper. It was a close fight too. But when he stepped up, when was he ever really dominated? A lot of guys have close fights. They go the distance. This guy, when he went the distance, he dropped everybody except for Canelo. He put them on the count.
And Lomachenko, he put him down too.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's Gonzalez's point. He's saying that I don't have a problem. Somebody has him wanted the fight of the decade. I mean, look.
And you also got to think one more thing. Recognize the first time that when he was supposed to fight Canelo, Canelo relinquished his belt. He said, "I'm not ready for him." So he's got to get some credit for that because that shows dominance. One guy don't want to step up and fight him. He gives away his belt. That's showing. That's exercising dominance. And this was in the first half of the decade.
He's gonna suffer. You know what he's gonna suffer? Same thing that happened to Marvin Hagler in the 80s. Well, first of all, Marvin Hagler didn't complete the 80s, so that's one. Second, he was one of those guys that nobody wanted to really fight at the time. They fought him eventually when the money got up, and maybe Hagler was a little long in the tooth in terms of boxing. Boxing career.
I think Hagler had 40 fights, and I think he was the American champion or something. I don't even think he'd won a world title after 40 fights.
Right. No. He was one of those guys that started I think his career compared to Triple G is very comparable. It's very, very, to me, at least to me. I like, we all love boxing, right? So sometimes when I look back and say, who do these fighters kind of remind me of? When it comes to Golovkin, it always falls to Marvin Hagler for me.
Yeah, it's like one more thing. It's like when they say, well, when he finally stepped up. No, when everybody else stepped up and wanted to fight him. When everybody else stepped up, because Golovkin was there, nobody wanted to step to him.
The thing is, all these years afterwards, we're talking about Marvin Hagler's round with Thomas Hearns, one of the best bits of footage you'll ever see in a boxing ring. Hagler will always be associated. Marvin Hagler for me, he beat Leonard that day. I think Sugar Ray Leonard was the golden boy of American boxing. You're never going to beat the guy on points. I mean, the only reason Duran beat him on points was because Duran was beating the brakes off him. So you couldn't give it to Sugar Ray. But I think, and just the way he went to England, I mean, it was a disgraceful moment of boxing. And like I said, I remember it quite clearly. I was very young at the time and I didn't understand what I was seeing. But I remember when Hagler came over to the UK to fight Alan Minter.
Yeah.
And, he destroyed Alan Minter, and how Hagler did well to leave that arena alive because there was bottles, chairs, everything being thrown in the ring. This is when England was going through a racist period of skinheads and football hooligans, and Alan Minter was followed by a lot of thugs and football hooligans. And they nearly killed Hagler, mate. Hagler went in there, destroyed their man, took the world title, and But the thing is, how time moves on, because now Marvin Hagler is a very big name in the UK. Marvin Hagler comes to the UK quite often. He has dinners where the UK boxing fans raise money for him, do dinners, and and he has speeches and stuff. And he's a very, very popular name in the UK. But it's funny when you go back all them years. I mean, how he made it out the ring alive is a miracle.
Hey, by the way, somebody kept mentioning Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez.
Yeah, he does. He deserves a mention. I definitely.
Oh, he definitely deserves a mention.
He has a lot of accomplishments as a fighter for fight of the decade. Yeah.
And who else did you guys?
You could say Nonito Donaire.
I was thinking about, but I think he
And
lost.
he fell a little short, but
Yeah, let
did
me
have a
check.
good decade.
He did. Because
Yeah.
Rigondeaux whooped his ass.
When was
That-
that? 2012?
2012, I think he broke his face. Remember the last round? I think he busted his shit up.
2013, March
2013,
2013.
March 2013. So
So, and after that, it was all downfall, no?
right,
Basically. So,
he went downhill
no,
after
it's,
that. But he
yeah.
did have a nice little resurgence. But nah,
Yeah,
you
but it
know,
wasn't like,
it wasn't dominant.
no.
Yeah, it was like a 5-fight or maybe 4-fight resurgence.
Yeah, but against opposition, that wasn't the best. I mean, when he stepped it up against Carl Frampton, he lost.
But he gave
Uh,
the monster all he got.
Yeah, like a last hurrah type of thing.
Yeah, he
Plus,
did
he was
a
an old man.
he did all right for himself. But nah, wouldn't give him fight of the decade. Not close. There's other guys that
Yeah, there's other guys that deserves it.
were dominant, more dominant, and weren't playing second fiddle to no one.
Hey guys, what about Andre Ward?
Another guy who fell too short.
Nah, fell too short.
He
Could
does
have
have
been.
a
Fell too short.
well.
I'm gonna make the argument here. I'm gonna play devil's advocate, basically. So we have Andre Ward. Let me just. I'm on box.
After the Super Six, nothing, Bucho.
Here we
That
go,
was
guys.
last decade.
2010.
Right.
He started with a win over Alan Green, then Saki Obika, Arthur Abraham. Now this is Super Six tournament, right? The Super Six.
Right, the Super Six tournament.
Carl Froch.
Who was it who sparked Alan Green cold out? Was it Kessler or someone? Someone sparked him clean out.
Glenn Johnson.
Glenn Johnson. No, was it Glenn Johnson? I mean, Glenn Johnson. I mean,
Glenn Johnson.
That's not a good win. That's not a good win for me.
All right, well, hold on. Carl Froch, good win. Final of the
Good
Super
win,
Six
yeah,
tournament.
good
You
win.
gotta give him credit for that shit.
Yeah, definitely.
Chad Dawson, tricky one.
win.
Chad Dawson coming down in weight. He
Right.
wanted the fight, but then again, Ward accepted the fight. And Chad Dawson, I believe, was a pound for pounder in that time, no? Because he was the
He was
undisputed.
the light heavyweight champion of the world.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
he was a champion at that time, so the linear
Yeah, so
champion.
he was a good fighter. Let's be real.
He was
Nowhere near as good
drained.
as people were saying.
He was
but
drained,
he was
but
drained.
yeah.
Listen, he was a zombie in there, mate. He was a zombie in there.
He's too tall for super middleweight. Yeah, no. Okay, anyways, so he beats.
It's
Andre
like
Ward beats-
Corrales versus Mayweather.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was in 2012. Then after that, 2013, Edwin Rodriguez. 2015, Paul Smith.
Terrible win.
Then, yeah. Sullivan Barrera, 2016.
Nice win.
Alexander
Not
Brand,
bad.
2016. No, that wasn't
No.
good. And then you have the two Kovalev wins, 2016 and 2017.
Well, the first one was a robbery. The second one was
is what
assault
it
on the testicles. So
Okay, but Stu, let's say that they were legit wins.
Let's just give it
I
right.
think, hey, what I saw of Kovalev that night, I think Andre Ward would have won that fight anyway. Kovalev looked
Oh yeah,
shot.
he looked like shit.
Mentally shot. Well, not physically, mentally shot after what happened in the first fight. I think Kovalev thought that he had to go in there and knock Ward out to get the victory, and I think he blew his tank. I think Ward was starting to take over. He was catching him with big shots. Ward didn't have to do that, but that was terrible refereeing, and it was a bit of cowardness from Kovalev, if you ask me.
Plus, he had a snake in his corner.
I think Kovalev.
No, I think when you
showed
look
no
at
sort of
Kovalev,
emotion.
I think when you look at
Go on, Rick, and I was gone.
No, I was going to say, I think, look, when it comes to, just to answer the Andre Ward thing, that's, no. He doesn't fit, not to me, he didn't finish out the decade, so the answer is no. When you got guys like Canelo and other guys that finished out the decade, I cannot put sweet fucking Andre Ward, because he calls himself the son of God, over those guys like that. Now, I think when it comes down to Kovalev, one day you're gonna either find out he was murdered, or he's gonna do the tell-all, and you're gonna find out that there was a lot of shit in his life, and it's gonna explain everything. I think it's pretty explainable now.
I think you recognise. I believe. I believe you think he's thrown a few fights, don't you?
I believe that it's very possible when you look at the people he rolls with.
Yeah,
I
can see that you've been consistent with that as well.
I mean, listen, I don't know if you guys remember this fighter. There was a boxer from Russia back in the 90s. He was a cruiserweight. And he disappeared. And they found his body 2 years ago. Who knows what people said that was over a machismo thing, but the machismo thing
Could
being
be
he
Russian
beat
mob.
up. Right. No, it definitely was Russian mob. But what they were saying was that him and a guy who was a mob member got into an ego thing, and he paid for it with his life. I don't know how true that is, but then there was
If he
other
wasn't
rumors.
Russian, would we be saying this though?
Well, I mean, there's a good point in that, but the
Stereotypical.
problem is that
American
we're talking about
stereotypical,
Brooklyn. We're talking about Brooklyn. All the players were from Brooklyn, and
Right.
anybody who knows about Brooklyn in the
It's-
'90s
Yeah.
and the
Exactly.
Russian mob,
Russian
that wasn't
mafia.
But we're talking about Kovalev.
hold on, let me finish. That wasn't a myth. That was not a myth. That was
There's a
the
rumor
real
going
thing.
around that Buddy McGurk has been involved in fixed fights when he was a fighter. That he was involved in the mafia. I mean, I'm not claiming that. So before anyone thinks I am.
All right,
There's
you know
rumors
what?
going
Here's
around.
my
Anything is
question.
possible.
Here's my
Yeah.
question. When you talk about Andrew Ward, you mentioned that Chad Dawson win, which Bucho mentioned also that Chad Dawson went down in weight, and also there was the rumor that Edison Miranda had sparked him out cold during sparring in the build-up to that
Yes,
fight.
I remember that too. Yep.
But here's the thing, though. How much? I mean, hindsight is 2020. I hate using that phrase, but that's all I got. So how much? I mean, at the end of the day, Ward got those wins, and you want to say that Kovalev was looking bad in the second fight? I thought he was winning the second fight. They were
It's a
voting.
robbery, though, bro. It's a robbery. The first
I
one's a
get
robbery.
I get what Stu was saying. He looked like a guy that was not there for whatever
Listen,
reason. that is.
Kovalev went in there, right?
Mentality-wise, yeah.
Yeah. Kovalev went in there knowing that he couldn't box, couldn't win on points. He had that mentality that he was going to. I mean, if that first fight wasn't going to get him a victory, then what's the second one? He knew that. So he's gone in there. He's tried to KO Ward early, and he's blown his tank. And this is a guy that drinks anyway, mentally all over the place. We know he is. He could have these problems that Recognize talking about, involved with all sorts of mobs. So he's got a lot on. Obviously, he wasn't the same fighter, and he never has been since. Like I said, mentally shot to pieces.
And Ward was going to the body like a maniac. Like he was told, like go to the body, go.
Because
And
that's
then
what you do with a drinker. A guy that's not fit, a guy that doesn't train properly, like the guy that drinks alcohol. What do? You go to the stomach, don't you? You go to the body.
Hey, Stu,
Yeah,
don't
and-
forget.
yeah.
Don't forget, he had an insider too, JDJ.
And he's the one that said that. Go to the body. He doesn't like it. And not only did he go to the body, he went even lower than that. So that just made a complete
Yeah, he went to his nuts.
destruction
Hey,
of
that Sergei Kovalev, that Sergei Kovalev that come over to England and smashed Nathan Cleverly all over the place. That guy was unbeatable.
But
Yeah,
you know
he
what?
was a monster.
I just want to mention something here because G Boogie mentioned John David Jackson. Just for the record, we had Randall Bailey, super power puncher sensation Randall Bailey, a couple of years ago on the podcast, and remember he used to train with John David Jackson, and that was the fight when he fought I think Mike Jones. That was when John David Jackson, remember, he was so frustrated with Randall Bailey that he just bailed from the corner because Bailey wasn't listening to his sources. And Bailey said that he did not like John David Jackson. He said that he wasn't actually being trained by Jackson, that he would just hold the pads a little bit and not work on strategy or anything like that. So
Listen,
yeah.
go ahead, bro. Go ahead before you finish.
Even Kovalev said that JDJ was just a pad man.
Listen, when a guy who's not getting, I mean, they weren't getting on. I mean, this guy accused Kovalev of racism. I mean, John David Jackson showed what a money-grabbing coward he is. Because he should have, as soon as Kovalev was being racist to the guy, he should have fucking jumped ship. Is money more important than your fucking self-respect? The guy's sitting there holding the pads and the spit bucket and just lost all sort of dignity. Lost all sorts of dignity. He should have got out of there. But the guy was willing to stay. Hang on. Yes, man.
Let him finish.
Get out.
Recognize calls him Spit Bucket Jackson. No, but listen, I don't know the guy, so all I'm going with
hold my bucket, darky.
Listen, all I know is what Bailey said and what Kovalev said, but there's two sides to every story. So maybe John David Jackson is the one that's right. I don't know. Also, but here was my question about Andrew Ward is because we mentioned Chad Dawson. Subsequently, Chad Dawson went on to get knocked out by or I think he lost to Carpensi and then got knocked out by Fonfara. Oh, and by Stevenson too. So that's
Dawson
three.
was one of the most overrated champions of the last decade.
Yeah,
He
but
wins
but
that
but
one for
but
me.
Stu, that's
Top
where I'm
five.
going. That's where I'm going with this. At the time, however, he had just beaten Glenn Johnson. He'd beaten Hopkins, Antonio Tarver. All three were old, but he did beat him. Something not everybody was
Too
able to
busy
do.
for Hopkins. That's all he was. Too busy for Hopkins. That was it.
Yeah, he was too
Hopkins was
busy for
very.
Hopkins. He was too
Hopkins was
young.
poor that night.
He was too young. He was younger and stronger than him. You know, it
Yeah,
was just
that's what it was.
yeah.
All right,
Hopkins
is
was
what it is.
dreadful that night. Absolutely dreadful.
So we're not giving him. So Andrew Ward. So bottom line, then you guys aren't impressed with Ward's resume this
No, the
decade.
Kessler. Look, even when you look at the Kessler win, I mean, he
headbutted the guy.
headbutted Kessler all night. I mean, look at the cuts that Kessler.
That was
Kessler
2009,
had to
though.
have
That was
surgery,
2009.
surgery, and all sorts.
All right, that was
2009.
2009.
That
That was
win. That win's not good for me. Well, it is a good win. Kessler's a good win, but the way he did it, it was just not nice on the eye. It was headbutting all night, holding, and it was just
Man, he
horrible.
ended man's career because of his
He did.
headbutt.
You know
Yeah,
what?
you have to have plastic surgery and all sorts.
I want to say something though. I want to go back to Manny Pacquiao before we get to some of the other names, because I mean, I think one thing people forget with Pacquiao is in the beginning of the decade, 2010. Let's not forget he beat Joshua Clottey. Now, again, in hindsight, people say, "Oh, Joshua Clottey was trash," but think about it. He almost beat Margarito. He beat up Zab Judah. Who else did he beat up at that time? Almost
Gave
beat up.
Cotto. He gave
Yeah,
Cotto
Cotto,
everything
that
he
was
could.
Yes, that was. And see that's the
I tell you
thing.
what, though, Manny had his problems with him as well, though, didn't he?
Well, he was just
Well, I
showing
mean,
up.
the,
He
the
was
problem
showing
the
up.
problem Manny had with him is it was he like hitting a wall. You know, it's
Yeah,
not gonna do
yeah.
anything. That was the
The
problem.
times that he had problems or Manny had problems with him is because he couldn't break his defense until he just started peppering. He said, I'm going to just go all out. Because Clottey could take punches, man. That dude was taking punches like it was
Dude,
nothing.
Clottey barely hit Pacquiao, and look what he did to his face. He barely hit him.
Hey,
that's
that's
the
what
thing about
no ball. That guy had no balls though. Let's fucking
No,
be
he had no
critical
balls
here.
for that
He had
fight.
no fucking balls. Let's be. He's strong. He's short. African warrior, whatever. He had no fucking
No,
balls.
Okay, wait a minute.
when it came to
No fucking
Pacquiao,
balls.
when it came to Pacquiao, he was too afraid to open up. The
Exactly.
speed
And
scared him. The
and
speed scared him.
that's why I
He
can't
was
give them
going to
sort of
get
fights.
hit by that.
But that's what I'm saying,
Cleveland.
guys. That's what I'm saying, though. That's what I'm saying. Nobody did to Clottey what Pacquiao did. A guy that did something similar was Margarito in the last 2 or 3 rounds of his fight with Clottey. Because with Clottey was, if you stop punching, he was like Lyndon Johnson. If you stop punching, he was just going to walk you down because he had a great guard. So what Pacquiao did was, all right, I'm just going to keep throwing shots and moving, keep throwing shots and moving. The amount of stamina and speed and endurance that it takes to do what Pacquiao did in that fight. And
Yeah.
then he went on to do the same thing against Margarito. Pacquiao did.
Cotto did it against Margarito as well in the second fight.
Yeah, more or less. But what I'm saying is that
was
2010. Sorry, G Boogie, just real quick. That 2010 year for Pacquiao was an underrated year because 2009 was such a 2008 and 2009 were such huge years for him.
2009 was 2008, 2009 was fucking huge for him, but 2010
Exactly.
was really good, man. You're right.
Exactly. Yeah, people forget. I mean, look, Margarito and Clottey, 2 guys that Mayweather never fought and didn't want to fight.
Mayweather was
but
scared
do
of
them wins,
Margarito.
but do them wins
first
get you
of all.
fight of the decade? Do them wins get you fight of the decade?
Yeah, exactly what Stu just said. This is why he won Fighter of the Decade over Floyd. He came into a division and fought the guys that were like guys that the boxing media wanted Floyd to fight, and we all know they didn't fight because of Floyd. It wasn't because of them.
Floyd
more
ducked
willing.
Margarito.
Well, we know that he ducked Margarito.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying is that's what I'm saying. Pacquiao has a very good case for fight of the decade because Margarito, Clottey, Jesse Vargas, Bradley twice. He did get the decision against Marquez in 2011 in the third fight.
Yes.
Thurman. I mean, that's a pretty solid.
That's a pretty good. That's a very good resume.
Yeah, it is, and this is why he's ahead of Floyd. I mean, them 15-0 stuff.
I just want to give my. Can I give my fighter of the year? Or we gotta wait till like some.
No, let's get to it. Yeah, let's get to it. Who? Yeah,
3 more hours. All right. Should I write them down?
Start?
Sure.
Okay. Now I'm gonna explain to you why I gave it to him, and it has nothing to do with me liking him because I don't. It's just some of it is A lot of it has to do with talent. A lot of it has to do with resume, and the politics is what it is. And I'll explain to you what I mean by that. Okay, so I'm giving it to Canelo, and I'm gonna tell you why. Even though I think Canelo is a cheater, in the sense of I take, you can't. Okay, he closed the show. He didn't do it against, obviously. He didn't do it against Triple G because I think that without the stuff, Triple G is a better fighter than he is, and still with the stuff, more likely at least as good as him, if not better. But he beat the two most dominant fighters of. He's got two wins over the two most dominant fighters of the decade, in two different weight classes. So you got Triple G, who was the most dominant middleweight at middleweight. Okay, right? I don't know why I said that twice. That was stupid, but you get what I'm saying. And then he went up and beat the most dominant light heavyweight. And under very strange circumstances, in my opinion, but a guy who fought a very stupid fight. All right, no more fix. It's gonna come out of my mouth. It's just he fought a very stupid fight and he paid for it and he lost. And therefore, fighter of the year. He beat the most dominant light heavyweight of the 2010s, and he beat the most dominant middleweight of 2010s. He lost one fight against Floyd Mayweather in a 12-round decision in a fight that I thought he clearly lost, and he was very young, and there was other details to that, in my opinion. But nonetheless, those two victories right there, and him having belts in 4 different weight classes in the decade, unless you know somebody who did something better than that, for me, that's going to get him in, and that should get him in probably in reality. So, yeah, that's my fight of the decade. I'm taking the mainstream route.
Yeah, I'm going to come in with mine now, because I agree with Recognize. I mean, the chat, the steam. I can hear the steam coming from their ears as I say it. But
I'm a trade it to the chat right now. I'm a trade it.
I mean, they're calling you the. I mean, he's the Ed Snowden of fucking the BDA now, isn't he? Recognize. Do you know what I mean? But I have to agree with what Recognize said. I think I've seen Canelo grow from a young kid into a special fighter. I've seen him, like I said, I've watched his career since he was 18. I watched the fight when he got hurt by Cotto's brother. I mean, all them years ago. I watched him fight Ryan Rhodes and Matthew Hatton, and I've seen him grow. And yes, he took a while to get to the world class level, but once he got into the rhythm, he's just started getting better and better. I think, like I said, I explained why I think he lost the first Golovkin fight. I don't believe he had the belief he could win that fight. But I think the second one, I just think he's got, since that Golovkin win, he's just improved tremendously. And I actually think the Floyd Mayweather defeat was a major factor in Canelo being the fighter he is today, because he learned so much from Floyd that night. Yes, he was weight drained. He should never have took the fight, too young and inexperienced. But he actually took a few tips off Floyd. If you watch how Canelo defends and rolls and then counters, it's very Floyd Mayweather-like, and a lot of his work he does. I think he's stole that off Floyd. He learned that. So, and he's just, I mean, the guy's got a granite fucking chin. The guy is a world-class counter-puncher. When he throws punches, it's just a lovely sight to watch. So, I know he's had his advantages, shall we say? I'm in the chat, I think steroid use and so on, but no, for me, he's fight of the decade.
You know what? Can I mention something real quick? Because I'm looking at ESPN here, and they did an article about the fighters that defined the decade. And as you can see here, they have Alvarez. They have a list of his notable fights. First of all, I got a problem with the list. They start off with Carlos Baldomir, Shane Mosley. They include James Kirkland, Amir Khan, and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., but they don't include Austin Trout. Now, do you guys think they didn't do that because it was actually a close fight whose scorecards were... There was one scorecard, I think it was Christodoulou or some guy had it 118, 109 or something ridiculous like that. How come they didn't include that in the list? But they did include Baldomir. I mean, do you guys give him credit for the Baldomir and Mosley wins?
BDA, that sounds like Vinnie Mac.
Yes, G Boogie. G Boogie. Wow, bro. Yo, listen. I was just about to say the same fucking thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but, I mean, does Anthony Joshua have a say? He started in 2012, didn't he? Pro. I mean, in 20 fights, unified champion, win against an all-time great in Klitschko. Yes, he's had an upset,
For
but he
me,
revenged that.
He
Gold medal,
just,
Olympic gold medal as well. You've got to, I'm
he
not saying
just
he should
failed
win
by a
it.
little bit.
Yeah,
by-
he's a bit short for me. He shouldn't win it, but he's got to be worth a mention. What he's done in that 8 years that he's been a pro. I mean, Wilder's. Can look at what he's achieved in the same time. I mean, he's been fighting fucking
Hey,
bum after bum.
one more thing I forgot to say. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna make this quick. To me, Triple G finished second, and I think it's very important for me to mention that. I'm not trying to win the crowd back or that, but
here we go, trying to save face. So
Yes, you are recognized. I know your
Tell him
tricks.
apology, saving face. Just
Apology.
it's only so recognized
forgot
still
to
gets the views, so they don't shut off his channel, so he still gets the views.
No, but that's I'm being sincere with it when I say that Triple G is a very close second.
Well, I gotta tell you something about Canelo, though. I understand the argument for him, that you can make the argument for him to be the fighter of the decade, but it's like a cop who has a lot of arrests, but who also has a lot of allegations about corruption and about beating up suspects and planting evidence. And that's the same thing with Canelo. There's too much dirt. First of all, let's mention the Trout fight. Again, very close. The Aries Lara fight, extremely close. He got the win, I mean, the draw against Golovkin. That was a robbery. He should not have gotten a draw. He should have lost that fight. Then you have the Kovalev fight and all the shenanigans that happened with that. I mean, just this freaking show went nuclear because of that fight. What else am I missing? Oh, that's the steroids. I mean, can we really give fight of the decade to a guy? Yeah, he didn't want to fight Golovkin for about 2 years. Can we really give fight of the decade to a guy who tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs? Come on. I'm just asking the question.
What's that? Yeah.
I can say this one quick. I don't care if fighters use PEDs, so that's not the reason why Canelo is not my fight of the decade.
You don't care because you're on PEDs, probably.
Yeah.
There you go. We've got it on the record. We've got it on the record. Apology likes to inject steroids up his ass. What?
All of them are doing it, so it doesn't matter. The reason why I don't like Canelo is the other shenanigans.
So wait a minute. So is that the consensus for everybody? Because I want to, okay, we recognize it's Canelo, despite the fact that he dislikes him, but he's keeping it consistent. How about everybody else? Who do you have as fighter of the decade?
Who's next?
Right. I'm going to have to give it.
I've said mine, didn't I?
I didn't hear yours because I had something fell in.
Mine was Canelo Alvarez, wasn't it?
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, me and Stu agreed. So far, two votes for Canelo.
Can I say mine?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Well, I know it's not going to be Canelo with apology. He hates the guy.
No, I hate him with burning passion. Yeah. Anyway, it was really close between three fighters, but I decided to give it to Manny just because of his resume from 2010 to now, and it's still impressive despite his age, despite his weight and height. He's still taking on these young guys and schooling them.
And he's got better calves than them. That's pretty impressive as well. I mean, the calves,
yeah.
it's a hard muscle to develop.
If you're into that, yeah.
Wait, I mean, what are you going to make it sound?
Do you know? Sorry, go ahead, Biro.
Yeah, but he's going to make it sound sexual. I just said he's got good calves. I mean, impressive calves. I didn't say sexy ass calves or anything. Apology. Come on, man. Making me look bad here, man.
The reason I'm not picking him, and it's for what, because I love Manny Pacquiao, but I actually believe he threw the Floyd Mayweather fight. So for that alone, I'm not going to be picking.
Really?
Yeah, I think he threw that fight, mate. Like I said, if you heard the show the other day, I said there was a rumor going around at the time, many moons ago, that Manny met Floyd private airfield in a private jet and handed him a suitcase of $30 million extra to throw the fight. Listen, just go and watch that fight. Manny, the minute he hurt Floyd, his eyes lit up. He thought, "Fucking hell, I better back off," and he did.
Stu,
and he didn't throw
I've heard other people say the same thing too. That they felt. Now, look, I have to be honest.
Manny used a shoulder injury as an excuse why he wasn't throwing punches. But the reason he wasn't throwing punches, look what he landed on Floyd clean, and he rocked Floyd to his fucking boots. And when you get someone like Floyd Mayweather, a defensive master, hurt, You got to jump on him like Madonna did, and he backed off. Everything he did, he wasn't throwing punches. This is Manny that throws 1,000 punches a fight. Did we see 100 that night? I mean, had fucking, and like I said, an inside guy. Obviously, this is major shit. These guys ain't going to come out and get fucking assassinated for stuff like this. But the rumor is, I'm not saying it's true, but the rumor is that he took an extra 30 million on top of what he already made to throw the fight. Manny doesn't have a zero to protect. Manny was in debt with tax debt. He owed millions in taxes.
And Manny Pacquiao knew that his legacy is not determined on keeping a zero.
On that loss.
Like Floyd Mayweather. If you give Floyd Mayweather a loss, we're not even talking about it.
But what does Manny do after the fight? Claims robbery, says he wins it. So it sort of gives him a bit more, because the people are going to jump on that. Well, Manny did win that. And that's what he did. For me, it had fix written all over it. And that's why I can't pick Manny Pacquiao or Floyd Mayweather. When you fix it, fights,
good. I happen to look. I don't see it in the fight, even though I do question certain things. But that is something that you have to consider. And besides, he did lose that fight. I mean, on paper, he lost. So, I love Manny Pacquiao, man. I think he's the best fighter I've seen, pound for pound wise, and just when it comes to the decade, man, you got to nitpick. I know people have problems with Canelo, but Canelo got two wins over the most dominant fighters of two different weight classes. So.
Hey, can I say something about?
There's a guy in the chat saying, "Oh, the lengths that people will go to discredit Floyd Mayweather." Listen, just go back and watch that fight. Use your eyes; they obviously work because you're here. Use them and watch Manny Pacquiao. Watch how he's hesitant, doesn't want to throw punches. This is not go and watch Manny Pacquiao in every other fight, but not that one.
Okay, you know what? But hold on. There's a counter argument to that, if I may, because he also dropped Chris Algieri a whole bunch of times, and he couldn't take him out because Algieri kept turning him. And it's the same thing a little bit with Mayweather.
But he won that fight clearly, didn't he, Manny Pacquiao?
Right, but I mean, but you're saying
was not out of the cage yet.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Manny Pacquiao. My point is, did Manny Pacquiao look like he was trying to throw a fight against Chris Algieri that night by dropping him?
No, but what I'm saying, but that's what I'm saying is he hurt you because you said he hurt Mayweather and then he didn't go after him. He did jump on him. He threw a couple of punches, but he saw Mayweather was blocking the shots and he just said, "You know what? I'm going to step back and not blow my wad."
Threw nothing for 30 seconds.
He did throw
if not longer.
Anyway,
and that was just one part of the fight. Go and watch the whole fight. I mean, this was a absolute shit fest on the night. This is meant to be the 1 and 2 pound for pound fighters of the world. Are you telling me that's all they could muster up? Come on, man. You guys are first to call everyone steroid users and Kovalev through the fight and everyone else. When it talks to Floyd and Manny, I know Manny's name.
Point. Yeah,
Manny's name's a big one on this show, but let's keep it real. Go back and watch that fight when you got a bit of time for yourself, and then just look properly, and then take it, and then we'll get back to it.
Listen,
I mean, there's more evidence for the Kovalev fight being fixed, but
maybe.
Tree stone.
Listen,
but how do you work that one out? I mean, Kovalev was sleeping over the fucking ropes.
Stu, there's many ways to fix a fight. And what I mean by fix a fight, he purposely performed poorly. If he performed properly, Canelo would be out there in 6 rounds.
You know,
every time Kovalev, this is important, I need to say this. Every time Kovalev threw a punch, Canelo ran because he was scared, because he knew he was going to get his ass whipped.
Well, listen, apology. For a moment there, I thought you were going to say there's many ways to skin a cat. And if you had said that, I was going to kick you out of the fucking panel, man, because I don't want to hear fucking, overrated phrases like that. But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. No, shut up. The point is this. We can go back and forth about which fight was fixed, blah, blah, blah. The chat room is on fire. And we can talk about this for days. You guys opened up a kind of worms with Canelo and Floyd and fixed fights. But we got to stay on subject here. I want to hear who everybody picked as fight of the decade. So we had Apology, who just told us he had Pacquiao. Stu and Recognize they had Canelo. Let's go to G Boogie. G Boogie, who did you have as fight of the decade?
That's a very difficult scenario to pick. But I'm gonna have to say, for me, the old man won it, which is Pacquiao.
Oh.
And it's going to be a lot of controversy about it and all that. Maybe other people may come on and give their assessment on why not he shouldn't be and all that stuff. I just look at it like this. He is dominated the welterweight division, and even now he had to prove he is a legend and went and beat, a Keith Thurman that, had elbow problem or whatever. He came back and all that, but he took it to him. And he got the win. An emphatic win over a younger man. He is a 40, going on 41, 42 years old? And still, regardless if he's doing performance enhancement,
to this day.
All these people, whatever. It doesn't matter. The whole thing is, he is the epitome of a fighter because he comes to fight everybody and he didn't back down to nobody.
Oh, wait a minute. G Boogie, I got to call you out here. Are you picking Pacquiao because he's a fellow guy in his 40s, just like you are?
No, I'm 50, bro.
Oh, I thought you were in your 40s. Okay. Well, you sound like
my brother.
If that was the case, he'd be picking Luis Ortiz then, wouldn't he?
If he wants to be biased, he'll be picking Ortiz right now.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, G Boogie, if it means anything, G Boogie, if it means anything, you sound like you're in your 40s. I don't know how that's possible, but let me just put it that way. All right.
That's awesome.
It's possible because I sound like I'm in my 20s and I look like I'm in my 20s.
G Boogie's got that alpha male voice, isn't he, Boogie?
Yeah.
G Boogie is the superior race genes. You don't have it, unfortunately.
G Boogie's related to Anthony Joshua.
It's that Puerto Rican Nigerian blood we have.
Yeah.
It's those rice and beans, man.
We have Taino, Azteca, de toda la manteca.
Hey, G Boogie was drinking that potion that Yuri Boy Campus was drinking up in the mountains of Mexico.
Yeah.
All right. Listen, let's get to it then, because we got a jam-packed house tonight.
So we got 2 Pacquiaos, 2 Canelo.
That's right. All right, let's get to Gonzalo. Gonzalo, you still there? Guns. All right, we'll get back to him when he comes back. We just had, by the way, John Gonzalez just donated via the super chat, and he says, BDA, my fight of the decade is Pacquiao as well. Oh, there you go, BDA. He says Pacquiao as fight of the decade. I would have thought John Gonzalez would have had that guy that murdered his wife and kid. Remember that guy that got caught with the neighbors?
Yeah.
That the neighbors
By the way, you missed 2 super chats. Lobitos, then Boxing. Gonzalez says, Happy New Year's, everybody. And then John Gonzalez also said earlier, I want Manny Pacquiao's calves.
All right. Thank you guys for your contributions. All right. So let's move on to, because I want to really get down to this. All right. So we just got Johnny Boy and Pete, who just came into the chat room. Let's start with Pete, who came in first. Pete, thank you for being on, man. How about you, man? Fight of the decade.
Mr. BDA, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Does John Gonzalez mean Pacquiao's calves, like literally, like filleted off with a?
Yeah, he wants them. He wants them.
Butcher knife.
He wants them in house.
I'm pretty sure.
Pete, where you hear? Pete, where you hear when Gonzalo admitted to taking pictures of girls' calves in the Philippines and keeping a record of them? He gives them ratings. Like this calf's a 6 out of 10. This calf's a 4 out of 10. BDA called it the calf meter. BDA called it the calf meter.
Was that me?
Is on the, he's keeping his eye on things, man.
That's right.
Well, listen, I'll keep it short. So in this list here, everybody's got their opinion, right? No one can knock anybody for their opinion, but
no, they shouldn't.
But
no,
thank you, Matrix. But listen, so here's the way I do it, right? I take a list, whether it be Hall of Fame or pound for pound or whatever, if you want to go about it. I take the top 10, whatever, whoever was on the list, right? We've been talking about a lot of them tonight. So, and then I started eliminating them from the back, from the 10th all the way up to the first. So if you knock a guy off the list, whoever else is on that list means that you can go this last decade without him. And boxing would have been the same to you, right? So
yep.
When you know all that, when you go from start eliminating guys off of this list, I still don't understand how it's even a discussion. It's Pacquiao. For the last decade, I mean,
we got three Pacquiaos. So
There's no two ways about it. I mean, for me, I don't see a bunch of asterisks next to Pacquiao's career. I don't see him fighting at 155 for 4 years and catch weighting everybody and draining this guy and bringing
Pacquiao's
Khan
done
up
catch
and
weight.
sparking Khan out.
Pacquiao has won belts in divisions that don't even exist. What are you on about? 8 division world champion. Get out of here.
He's Yoda.
He's won belts, and I'm talking about the last decade, man. I mean, if you want to, if it's to the career, it's not even the question. I'm talking about the last decade, right?
Yeah, but Pete, what about the losses?
So you can't be a hypocrite. You can't moan at Canelo for doing something when Pacquiao's been doing it all his career. That's my point.
Not in this decade. He hasn't, Stu.
Oh, come on. So if he doesn't do it, so just because he don't do it this decade, it makes it right, does it? That's like, well, if he was a murderer in the 80s, but you're not a murderer now, that's all right.
Yeah, but Stu, I can't give him credit for Morales. I can't give him credit for Morales and Barrera and all these fights because
he fought Margarito and Margarito.
That was 150.
Stu, you know what I'm saying? Though I can't go.
No, I get where you're coming from, Pete, and I just think I find it with the Canelo hate. A lot of people that give Canelo stick, they're hypocrites because their favourite fight has been doing the same. That's my point.
Yeah, but when's Pacquiao fought?
It is called Fighter of the Decade.
But when's no, but this, you're not getting my point. You're not getting my point. It's not about the decade. I'm saying if Canelo's been doing something, because Pacquiao did it the decade before. Because Pacquiao did it the decade before, that makes it right, does it?
No.
Right.
Your point is shouldn't count.
It is relevant because he's complaining about Canelo doing something, saying that's why he shouldn't be on the list. But what I'm saying is, you can't complain about a fighter doing something when your guy has been doing it the decade before.
I know, but this ain't the fighter of the 90s. Or the
you're not getting my point, don't you?
But Stu,
I get your point, Stu. But Stu,
I got a question.
Go ahead.
Why is it that Pacquiao, when he fought Margarito, he moved up 2 weight classes and he still didn't make the weight limit because Margarito, he was supposed to be 154. He came in at 149 or 150, and he fought a 160-pound man.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm not. Pacquiao is an all-time great. I'm not. Fucking,
That's what I'm thinking. He is saying.
But what I'm saying is Pacquiao's on the all-time great list of anyone's list, I should think. I'm hearing a bit of an echo. My point is, though, Canelo gets a lot of stick for doing stuff that from guys that their favourite fighters have been doing. That's just my point. It's not about anything to do with the decade, the fight of the decade, or anything like that. It's just Canelo gets criticism. Yet Manny Pacquiao was doing that a decade before. And catch weight to catch weight.
Yeah,
look at 8 division world champion. How many of them belts actually existed? How many of them fucking divisions actually existed?
I don't know. All I'm saying is this: like, it's not just the catch weight thing. I don't want to sit here and shit on Canelo because I could do that for about an hour. I'm not trying to shit on Canelo, but
shit on him.
All right, I'll shit on him. The list that BDA put on the screen earlier, those 10 fights, fucking, there's one legit fight in that whole list, man. Everything else got asterisks all over it.
But Pete, can I say something? There's what about Pacquiao's losses?
I don't care, BDA. I don't care, man, because like it's not about undefeated. Tank Davis is undefeated in this decade. I don't give a shit. I mean, I don't care about undefeated. Which fighter, if you had to eliminate those fights from this decade, would be a bigger detriment to boxing?
Okay.
Now listen, I've enjoyed watching Canelo fights. I mean, I can. I'm not turning it down as much as I'm like just calming it down. You know what I'm trying to say? But I'm saying if I had to pick one or the other to go without for this last decade, Canelo's out of here. Pacquiao's in.
Well, there you go.
In the chat, Jedi Master is saying that Mayweather is the fighter of the decade because he generated $300 million or something like that.
Good point. Excellent.
Mayweather's not the fighter of any fucking decade. Any 10-year time period in fucking Mayweather's career, he ain't. I'd rather watch Canelo than any of those fights.
Shouldn't Errol Spence be the fighter of the decade? The fact that he was able to survive going drunk, driving drunk and jumping out of the car at about 220 miles an hour. I mean, come on, that's pretty impressive.
He got the stuntman award.
Yeah, he's that guy. You know what it is? If I were Errol Spence, what I would do is I would do what that guy did in that Tarantino movie where he would lock women in a car and then just crash and kill them. Remember that movie there with Tarantino?
Yeah,
What was it called?
Roadkill. Roadkill.
Death proof. Death proof. That's what Errol Spence is gonna be. Errol Spence is gonna be locking women into his car and crashing along with them and just survive it, and get off on that. All right, listen, hold on a second. We got Johnny Boy. He wants to also. Okay, so we get. Hold on, just to recap. Recognize said Canelo. Stu Lil said Canelo as fight of the decade. Apology and G Boogie and Pete all had Pacquiao as fight of the decade. So let's get to John. Yeah, there we go. So let's get to Johnny Boy. Been a long time since he was at him. All right, Johnny Boy, who do you got as fight of the year?
Well, me, because I just got out and I got 102 fever.
Don't get me upset now.
I swear to God, I was in there with Recognize's cousin. He was a big Cuban motherfucker. He was like 45 years old.
He's Puerto Rican.
Yeah, well, I know.
You're saying they're all the same. That's kind of racist.
Racist.
Recognizes part
Racist.
No, he's not part Cuban. When did you get that?
I thought he was part Cuban.
Racist. They all look the same, huh? They all look the same, huh, Johnny?
I thought Recognize you said he was like a quarter Cuban.
Nah, what are you talking about?
Anyways.
Boricua.
Yeah, Boricua. Okay. No. It's not fucking Canelo.
Let me say this. Johnny Boy's right.
Yeah. I thought that's what you said. I wasn't even playing. Yeah. But no, it's Pacquiao.
All right.
Well, is that's it? You're not gonna make an argument or anything? Just
yeah. Let me here.
There's an echo, man. Somebody has a fucking echo.
All right, take it easy. Take it easy. I don't know who it could be. I don't hear an echo. Anyway, go ahead, Johnny Boy.
Okay. What Pacquiao losses? He's only got one loss this decade to Marquez. The other three were Fugazis. What losses? What fucking losses are you talking about?
So
you don't have no losses.
I take it you're one of those guys that didn't give Mayweather the decision over him. Is that what you're saying?
No. He fucking no. Not to mention, you can remove Floyd and Andre Ward from the decade.
Oh boy!
Right off the bat, considering they only fought half the fucking decade.
Right.
If you said Canelo, I wouldn't hold it against you. If you said chocolate with Tito, I wouldn't hold it against you. It ain't Floyd. It ain't fucking Andre Ward. Because they'd only fought for half the decade and they fucking retired when the kitchen got hot. The fuck out of here.
Why are you taking out all the brothers?
Well, well, Andre Ward's white, so he don't count. But anyway,
that's true.
Yeah. You said, well, Andre Ward. I remember they were asking Andre Ward, "Why did you retire so early?" Well, I just wanted to retire because I thought it was the right time to. No. You retired because the fucking division got stacked up and you pussied out and ran. The fuck out of here. Yeah. And Floyd. And as far as Floyd goes, I already went over this. Floyd had 9 fights this decade. 9. So that's less than once a year. I can just do this off the top of my head. That Fugazi, Conor McGregor bullshit don't even count. Okay? He had 9 fights. He had 9 fights this decade.
Tension. Don't forget Tension.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, 11 if you want to include Tension and McGregor. But anyways.
Don't include that, please.
Okay. Well, here's the 9 fights. Mosley, who was 47 years old. Victor Ortiz, who he fucking drilled when the referee wasn't looking. Cotto, I'll give him a little credit for the Cotto win. To me, that was one of his better victories. Then he cherry-picked Robert Guerrero, who's a fucking scrub. Then he fought Canelo, who was fucking 14 years old. Then he see, and this is another thing about Floyd. A lot of people like to forget about this. The only reason Marcos Maidana even got that fight with Floyd is because Floyd was upset that Maidana beat the shit out of his then boyfriend, Broner. That's the only reason Maidana even got that fucking fight.
True.
Because Floyd and Broner were dating at the time and they were, slobbing on each other. They were slobbing on each other, and 69 and shit like that. And Floyd felt some type of way about it after Maidana beat the fuck out of his boyfriend.
Hey, Johnny Boy.
That's the only reason. And then Floyd lost the first Maidana.
This is a family show.
Johnny Boy, first of all, you've been inside for too long. You've been institutionalized. You're not in jail anymore, all right? You're out here in public. You have to act like you're about to get shanked every 5 seconds. All right.
Well, his
Number
name
2.
is no longer Johnny Boy. It's Mohammed Abdul.
It was like a high school reunion.
Johnny's just a bit sore.
Hang on, Stu. It was like a high school reunion in there, BDA. I loved it.
Hey, well, wait a minute. You were.
Are you a Muslim now?
Yeah. Did you become a Muslim?
I ain't no Muslim, man.
Johnny joined the AB, didn't you?
He did a Tyson. He did a Tyson when he was in jail.
No, I kick it with the Mexicans when I'm in there.
Mark's.
You say what?
No, it's all right. Look, Johnny, what do you think about? I want to ask you a question quickly. What's your opinion on my theory of the Pacquiao throwing the fight against Floyd? Did you see that or not?
I mean, anything's possible. I think it was. I mean, I'm one of the dudes that actually thinks his arm was fucked up, like he wasn't bluffing that. So,
I thought you said
and
you
look,
researched all this.
I'm not saying maybe he fucked it up during the fight. I'm not even saying it was injured before. Or maybe it was a little bit, and it fucking. I mean, look, bro.
I was Floyd Mayweather pulling his arm through the whole fight.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was yanking that bitch out of socket.
You don't have any idea of the facts.
I think you guys are reaching a little bit, just a little bit,
It's a serious.
Don't ever be surprised about anything in boxing. Don't be surprised about anything. Boxing is such a sleazy, corrupt sport, right? Where no one's got any morals anymore.
Mayweather even said that he had the inside on that fight, and Pacquiao had injured his arm, and he found out 3 weeks before the fight.
Still, did the X-ray come out in the end? Was there any medical evidence that shoulder went? Because there was calling for
the whole medical process was released.
It was it? Because I never saw it. I was just asking.
Well, let's not forget though that Mayweather was getting a saline injection or something like that. I think the day after the weigh-in, I believe he was in his house. Remember? And Vada,
he was dehydrated.
Sniffing something as well. I thought I saw him sniffing something as well, didn't I, before the fight?
Oh, he was sniffing creatine. But anyways,
sniffing creatine.
Listen, what saline does is clear your veins to pump something in there. That's what saline.
I see.
Yeah.
Anyway, listen.
I know because of when my hand was infected after I broke it.
Oh, after you fucked somebody with your hand?
And listen, the woman.
After I finger blasted old girl with the taco sauce, yeah.
That's what happens. That's what happens when you fist somebody.
The last story.
I thought you blasted somebody because you was getting your phone privilege, and then somebody walked on you and said, "Yo, that's my phone." You was like, phone. "Yo, take this, hold this, bow."
Oh, I had to whip the young kids' ass in spades, bro. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. Fucking, and tell me why. After I moved, because downtown's more like prison. You know, they lock the gates on you like fucking Shawshank after 8 o'clock. Then they moved me downtown after a few days, or out in the county after a few days. As soon as I walk in the bunks, the kid right next to me I've known for 15 years. His name was Jesse. He's like, "Howdy, neighbor," and I'm like, "Hey, buddy." What the fuck's going on? That poor prick's in there till September.
Damn. It sounds like you had a good time in there. Now, by the way, in regards to Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather, let's call it like how it is. Those guys were, throughout their careers, they were probably on something. Pacquiao, don't tell me he wasn't on something. And Mayweather, he was getting more cut as he aged, which is something that I've never seen before, unless, of course, you're juicing. Now, oh yeah, and the stamina too.
Like I said before, BDA, Manny Pacquiao, go watch him against Margarito. He looked like fucking Bolo Young.
I think the problem,
like I said before, it's the.
I think the problem in that Mayweather fight is that he was off of his shit. To be honest with you, he looked like he was off of his shit in that one fight. And
maybe, yeah.
Every fight before and after that, he looked great. But
by the way,
just like every other fighter Floyd fights, man. I mean, you know, he can take, you can't. That's Matrix for once in his life is right. Where's Matrix at? Oh, he left already?
Yeah, he's got. I think he needed his computer to burn some DVDs that he's going to be selling tomorrow on the streets of Brooklyn. Now the point is that everybody gave it their 2 cents about fight of the decade, except for Bucho and myself. Bucho, who did you have as fight of the decade?
I think I'm gonna go with Canelo.
Lost all respect.
The Mexican going for the Mexican going for the Mexican.
It
What a
could be
surprise!
Pacquiao.
What a surprise!
Shit, I don't know, man.
You don't know.
What are you doing? What the hell are
'Cause
you doing?
That Floyd, I would have given it to Pacquiao, but just that Floyd fight, man, like
Go ahead, Charlie. Keep dancing.
horrible. I'm gonna
That
go
fight
with
sucked. That fight sucked for boxing, period. But anyway, even with the juice, Floyd could. I don't know. I'm looking at the box rec in these the decade of fights, right, from Clottey, ending with Thurman.
He smokes Floyd, Pete.
They're not his best fights.
No,
but he didn't win all of them either. But would you rather do without these fights here, these 10 fights, or Alvarez's 10 fights? And I'm not knocking Alvarez and Stu. You got the. I said it was everybody got their opinion. I'm not dogging Alvarez, but I'm just saying between the two, which list of fights would you rather do without? I'd rather see these Pacquiao fights than those Canelo fights.
I don't know, man. I mean, like I said, Manny Pacquiao's lost that spark for me. I don't get excited like I used to with Manny Pacquiao. I used to like get up for the Pacquiao fights, and I'd pay for a Pacquiao fight in a heartbeat. I wouldn't anymore. I think he's a shadow of the man. He's just that good that he's just managed to hang around with these guys because Pacquiao's still very experienced. He's still very experienced. You know, he might have lost a lot of his speed and his sharpness, and he walks onto a lot of shots now. He bobs and weaves too much and far too much movement in Manny Pacquiao. He wastes a lot of energy doing a lot of nothing, if you get what I'm saying. And I think he needs to sort of like change his style up a little bit if he's going to fight on at this age. I think he's buzzing around like a wasp, but jumping into shots because he ain't got the foot speed that he used to have. So that's a problem I see with Pacquiao now. And also, you know, Furman fight was a good win. It was a good win. But when I look at Canelo, I just see great wins. Like the Golovkin in the second fight, he won that for me. He knocked Kovalev over the ropes. You know, there's some real good wins there. Cotto was a good win for him, you know. I mean, the thing with Canelo Alvarez, he's fought every style. Say what you like about him. Oh, he's a ducker, he's a coward. But he's fought every style. No one wanted to fight Araceli Lara. No one wanted to fight Trout after he fucking schooled Cotto. You know, you got to give. He took them fights when he had no business doing it because they were bad styles for him. So this guy doesn't duck any challenges. I mean, let's be real. Anyone that fights Golovkin for 24 rounds has got my respect. You know, how can you be a coward if you get in the ring with Gennady Golovkin twice? I mean, with these fucking people.
Hey, Stu.
I don't credit Canelo for that. I credit De La Hoya.
Well, hey, let me just say this real quick. I, in my opinion, it's a toss between the two of them. Like, I'm not going to argue either way. So
yeah. No, exactly. By the way, I agree with you, man.
By the way,
like I said,
how amazing is it that Pacquiao's still in the discussion?
Yeah,
that's insane. That's insane, man.
This is what I'm trying to say. It's like the guy. Don't talk to me about Mayweather. He outlasted him, man. He outlasted him. This is what it's all about, too. You know, it's not all about just the accomplishments you've done in your career. It's, can Floyd do what he's doing? The answer is no, because he would be doing it. He would have done it already. If Floyd could do what Pacquiao has done from his onto his 40s, Floyd would have did it, man. He just can't do it no more.
Nah, he wanted to do it, but racism prevented him from doing it. It's the white man's fault.
Is that what it was?
As he signed that 180 million check.
Exactly, yeah.
And by the way, never wanted to do it because if he did, he would have done it in his earlier career, and he ran from all the people from Acelito Popo Freita to Casamayor let's say who else? Morales.
In the chat, Jelly Master is saying Floyd haters are still so bitter that he never.
Listen, Floyd never.
We can't give a guy. We can't give a guy who's fought some fucking she-boy from and Conor McGregor in the last couple of years, and then he's been missing for 5 years,
did you
man.
Did you call the Asian guy a she-boy?
He looked like one, didn't he? No, he looked like one to me.
That was racist. That was racist.
Oh, well, it is what it is, isn't it?
Oh, fuck. Listen.
Yeah, fuck it, innit?
Oh, fuck.
Here's the thing.
Floyd's been missing for 5. Floyd's been missing for 5 years, right? In meaningful fights. I'm on about the last time he fought Pacquiao.
Floyd's been a millionaire since he was 19 years old. He's a fucking honky. fucking black dude. Honky.
All right. In the chat, Joe
He loves
Lopez
Trump.
says Floyd retired because he could. So the other fighters are not retiring.
Oh,
They should because
okay. I like this
But they
narrative.
can't
I
no
like this
more.
narrative. Hold on, tell about. I like this narrative, right? This is the narrative. Floyd retired because he could. Like, I picture like some brilliant kid who thinks he's spitting some fucking lyrics or whatever. Because, okay, what does that have to do with him being fighter of the decade?
Exactly.
nothing.
Right? Then, well, because he's smart. What did he do in the ring? Ass wipe? Like, what did he do?
What has he ever done, really?
He beat Pacquiao. He beat
You can't take a
Pacquiao.
10-year period. You can't take any 10-year period and put him up against fucking Pacquiao. And pick fucking 2000 to 2010, 2002 to fucking 2012. Which, again, I'm gonna say it again. Which fights would you rather do without? You never saw them. Like,
Thunderdome broke
you
Floyd
ever go back and watch
Mayweather.
that Victor Ortiz fight? It's a fucking barn burner.
You got to listen to Thunderdome boxing when he broke down Floyd Mayweather's career.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God, that thing was so to the point.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I want to mention something about what Stu said that Canelo gets credit for facing Golovkin 2 times. Well, in those 2 fights, why doesn't Golovkin get the same equal respect? Because he's the boogeyman that some guy faced.
Wow, that's a good quote.
So somebody's making a name off a guy he went life and death with, and probably Golovkin got.
Man, I don't have a problem, Gonzalo. I don't have a problem with anybody picking Golovkin as fighter of the decade. I really don't. That was gonna be my pick. That was gonna be my pick, and I'll challenge anybody to say that this guy doesn't even belong to be mentioned. The guy scared people. He literally scared you.
Now hindsight, he lost a lot of shine these last 2 years, but still, he's got a belt. He's still champion.
Yeah, but listen, the reason he doesn't win it for me, just like Floyd and Manny, the reason Floyd and Manny, for a start, I'm going to get to that one first, is because that fight set boxing back years. It was an absolute disgraceful fight to watch, and this was number 1 pound for pound 2. These guys made hundreds of millions of dollars, and they put on that show. It sent boxing back because a lot of the casuals turned off, and like I said, a lot of the young fighters coming through were struggling. Then that's when all the fights started. Yeah, killed boxing, man. I'm telling you, boxing's still rebuilding now for it. It's only because of Canelo and Joshua is why we're still here. So that for that point alone, them two don't make good with Golovkin. Golovkin doesn't make it because for me, he should have moved up and did what. Even if he'd have gone and beat some 168 guy like Fielding, who had the belt at the time and won that, and then went and fought someone like Kovalev, then we could be saying that. But he didn't. He stayed in that division, and there was a lot of chumps at the time. Willie Monroe, did he need that fight? Did he have to fight Monroe? Like even Lemieux. I mean, Lemieux was not a great win. Look what Billy Joe Saunders did to him.
Dominic Wade.
So, yeah, I mean, and then you got like the 2 real world-class fighters in 4. Arguably lost them all in some people's eyes. Not for me. I think he won the Jacobs I thought he won the Jacobs and the first Canelo fight. But there's people out there that think he lost them all because they were close fights.
Hey Stu, sorry to interrupt. Can you send McGregor the link because I can't see him on.
He's on here. He's on here.
I've sent him a link, but I don't. I've sent that link.
He's in here, baby. He's in here.
Oh, he's
right there.
Yeah, I've sent him a link.
Oh, okay, I see him. Okay, sorry.
Go to McGregor now. Then let him say his piece because we've all spoke.
Come on, Miggsy. Where you at, Miggs?
Gonzalo didn't pick yet neither.
Yeah, I picked Golovkin. He's still champion. Look, these last 2 years, he's been handling himself pretty good. But if you take away these last 2 years, which I mentioned, he's still been handling himself. The 8 years prior, he was terrorizing everybody. Nobody here would probably even have a problem saying he is the guy.
You know something, Gonzalo?
Good pick.
Gonzalo, not because I'm a fan of Triple G, but I gotta commend you on that because I went with the mainstream pick. He did have 2 wins over the 2 most dominant. I'm talking about Canelo, the 2 most dominant fighters. But like what that pick right there, it's like somebody sitting down and really studying. Not saying that you're 100% right. It's taking all the other stuff and taking that into consideration. And remember, this guy was ducked. He was ducked. There's no doubt about that. Even the guy that I picked as the fighter of the decade ducked him. in the beginning.
Yeah. When Canelo said, "I don't want to fight him because I'm not ready."
Yeah, but
that means that guy was. Yeah.
Go
All right,
ahead,
all right.
Gonzalez. Sorry, brother.
I was just gonna say that's exercising dominance because you're pretty much telling yourself, "I can't compete against this guy." Now, leading up to that point, Golovkin had been champion like for 4 years, 5 years already. So I mean, closing out the decade, he still handled himself, like I said, and he still got a title, never been hurt or wobbled. Been putting everybody down on the canvas except for Canelo.
Yeah, but the thing is, look
everybody
at
else
the
out.
name.
Yeah.
Most
defenses-
Compare Canelo's resume to Golovkin's. When Golovkin's got Macklin, he's got Martin Murray. There's
Nobody was
fighters.
afraid of Canelo. Nobody was afraid of Canelo. That's what it was.
But if you tell me,
what is it? Is it
Golovkin,
Prosko? Robert Prosko? Who's the Polish guy that you bashed all over the place? I can't remember. Prosko. Yeah.
You can't tell me Golovkin will knock out an old Mosley, old Cotto. He won't knock out a Matthew Hatton. What's this called? The guy.
Yeah, but that's a different division, isn't it? You know, Matthew Hatton's not going to be fighting at middleweight, is he? So.
But if you put him in perspective to like the weight, just.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
I mean, 60 pounders.
I said Canelo was the money guy.
Hey, we can burn on after this, but let's get to Miggsy and then come back to this.
Yeah, let Mark go. Sorry, Mark.
Go ahead,
Sorry, Mark.
Yeah, no, I got Chocolatito. Yeah, I know, it's so funny, right?
But see, reckon I said that Golovkin was a hipster pick. Lomachenko says that's the hipster pick. But go ahead.
You guys remember when they were putting Chocolatito on those undercards for Triple G and Lampley? If he said pound for pound one more fucking time about Chocolatito.
Well, I want to hear.
Yeah. Let's unrivaled. Yeah, let's unrivaled. Speak his piece.
Give your breakdown.
Yeah, sure. In the decade itself, in the 10 years, he was the champion at the most weight divisions at 4 officially. Canelo's a 3-weight. He's second, tied with Donaire. Okay. Next one up, he beat the tied most amount of pound for pounders in 2. Quadras was number 10 on the list, and Estrada's number 7. Mm-hmm. In that time period, he also beat the most amount of champions. He beat the most top 10 opponents. He beat the most amount of top 3 rated opponents. He's tied at the top with 2 lineal titles in that time with Crawford and Canelo and Floyd. He's third overall in title defenses. During that time, he beat a lot of guys, man. And at the same point, he spent the longest amount of time out of all of the fighters mentioned in that decade at number 1 pound for pound. That's why.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you can certainly make a case for Lomachenko, especially like you said, the Estrada win is looking better and better. He also beat Yagiashi. That was a very good win at the time. I know Yagiashi hasn't looked stellar. In fact, I think he just got knocked out a couple of weeks ago. But
but that's actually a fight of the year contender.
Yeah,
but that fight was amazing.
When Andre Ward was fighting, though, Chocolatito was never pound for pound number 1 until Andre Ward retired.
Give us your real pick, Miggs. Come on, man.
That is my real pick. And by the way, when it comes to Andre Ward being ahead of him pound for pound number 1, Andre Ward was ahead of him pound for pound number 1 whilst he was being inactive just due to politics and fan perception. It wasn't down to the opponents beating or the fighters at the time. Most of Andre Ward's best wins were at the very start of the decade or at the end of last decade. Just go and take a look at the box rec.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, it was you got a point there, Mark. But what I'm saying is Chocolatito never really reigned at number 1 very long. He was there for a while and then got fucking knocked out by Wrong Versailles.
But wait a minute. He did. I mean, he won his first title in 2007, I believe. So he's been at the top of his game for about. He was
at the top. I'm on about number 1 pound for pound. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, you don't necessarily have to be. But you don't necessarily have to be pound for pound to be fighter of the decade. I mean, you don't necessarily have to have been that number 1 pound for pound fighter throughout the decade to be the fighter of the decade.
No, but Mark said that he was number 1.
Yeah, he was there in this decade, a grand total of 19 months. Pacquiao came second in that. We're 18 months. If you guys want to go back and calculate all this yourselves, go ahead. Feel free.
No,
I'll let you do the research.
If you're saying it, I'm going to take word for it. But I was just surprising a little bit. But
that's why we got you here, Mark.
Go ahead.
You can calculate it for us.
That's why Mark's here. By the way, just so everybody's aware, I got $100. Anybody who wants for if Danny Garcia grows a pair and fights Pacquiao, I got 100 on Pacquiao. Who wants it? Come get it.
Yeah, Johnny boy, you better be careful, man, because you already got into it with Teofimo Lopez's father. If you keep dogging Danny Garcia like that, Angel Garcia is gonna come after you, man. Next, man, come on, you gotta watch
Oh,
it.
Christ.
Real fast, Johnny, how are you going to give me the money when you can't even send me a super chat?
I can't hear. What'd you say, Mark?
How are you going to send me the money if I take that bet when you won't even send me a super chat because you're afraid to connect your card?
Well, give me an address.
E-transfer.
I ain't going to give my address to a criminal.
Oh, come on.
No, you just send an email.
Well, there might be a couple of little presents in there for 100.
Hey, but
going back to
Chocolatito, because we do have to give both sides of the issue here. Like John Gonzalez in the chat room says, Chocolatito does have that one brutal KO loss and officially a loss in the first fights against Sorong Visay. So, what do you guys make of that? Should we hold that against him too much, or?
Well, are we holding the knockout loss to Pacquiao against him to Marquez, which is rated by many as the knockout of the year or actually the decade?
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
No, listen, I can't really pick out. I'm getting a bit stick off Fight Scouts, and I don't know anything about Chocolatito's career because I mentioned the wrong side. But I've watched Chocolatito for many years, and for me, very good fighter, but never ever a pound for pound number one. I mean, anyone that thinks that, man, come on, man.
But hold on. Let me just say something real quick because Gonzalo mentioned Golovkin and his dominance and the fact that he was looking like the Terminator in there. Lomachenko was looking like the Terminator too in the first 5-6 years of the decade of this decade. I mean, he
went 20-0 before losing to Rungvisly.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. It
wasn't that's pretty fucking impressive. 20-0 in one decade.
I mean, come on, that's pretty impressive right there.
But, and I gotta say this, I'm a little biased, a little personal bias. Saw him fight live when he was on the undercard of Triple G Lemieux. Let me just say this, man. What he was doing in the ring, it just, and I'm a guy that that box and try different techniques. That shit just looked like that was just unbelievable stuff. The way he was throwing punches, coming in and avoiding the punches,
the combos, the combos are.
He was pretty. That's pretty special, bro. I
think you know what you think about it. Who right now, not since Juan Manuel Marquez, has somebody been able to throw so many good combinations like him? But Lomachenko Gonzalez right there is one of the few guys that still throws or can string along like 6-7 punch combinations. Everybody else right now is like one punch at a time and yapping when they do it, like Adrian Broner and Lamont Peterson. Yeah. Shut up.
Probably Lomachenko's up there.
Would you say Roman Gonzalez has achieved more than Nui?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, he's fought the bad boys of his division, where Nui, he's gone up in weight, but he's avoided fight. He didn't fight
one of the biggest problems with Nui was he ducked Chocolatito, he ducked Quadras, he ducked Estrada at Super Floyd while he was there in champion. Yeah. He ducked the three main guys.
I knew he would sleep Chocolatito.
You can say that all you want, but
you're talking about now. Right now, he would, but there was a time that they weren't confident. So they said, no, we're going to avoid that fight.
Yeah, because Chocolatito is a handful for anyone. He really is.
Well, at that time, I think they felt that he would have been too much for him. Maybe that's what they were thinking,
All right, now listen.
It cost him a lot to be considered. And when his name came up amongst like the mainstream, he fell from grace when they were barely starting to look at him. The hardcore knew about for the longest time. But when everybody else paid attention at that moment, he fell rather quickly. That's
true.
With that one loss.
Yeah, and also, let's not start sucking a Noe's dick. He just went life and death with a 50-year-old Nonito, too.
50-year-old. All right. I like
how Johnny the fuck down with all that shit.
And that's partially due because of the weight, because he's a small guy. They don't get the shine that the bigger guys.
Yeah, well, I was just, when you look at Nui's career, I don't see, obviously Chocolatito's got better wins, but I don't see a lot different. I really don't. And
Chocolatito's also a lot smaller than Nui. Yeah, Chocolatito's only 5'2".
I'm just comparing what they've done this decade. I mean, is he? This is where I'm trying to put Chocolatito because you guys got number one, but he's nowhere near that for me. I mean, what I've seen of him, very good fighter, but is he achieved more than a Nui? And you guys obviously saying that's the case, but I don't know if he has.
I got to tell you,
he's not really. As he broke through, I mean, let's be real. This guy was 40 fights before anyone knew he was, apart from the hardcores. No one knew Chocolatito apart from the McGregors and the Johnnies of this world. Do you know what I mean? The hardcores. So he just didn't break through. I knew he's doing it in much better fashion for me as well. Do you know what I mean? And like I said, he's going up these divisions, sparking these guys out. God, you can criticise the Donaire. You criticise the Donaire win, but that Donaire win, I mean, Nonito Donaire is super bantamweight. It's a handful for anyone, man.
Well, Stu, you bring up some very erotic points, no doubt about it. But let me just read real quick. Read the chat room.
Stu, you're erotic.
Yeah, erotic.
What do you mean? Yeah, but what do you mean by erotic though?
Well, no, that's just my new shtick. I say things that don't make any sense. Listen, actually, it's not new shtick. I've been doing that since the beginning of this show. But listen, the point is this: don't forget to like, subscribe, and if you have a couple of shekels you can spare, don't forget to send them our way via the super chat. I want to read the chat real quick. Cena Messias says the problem with Chocolatito is that he didn't come back after the devastating knockout. Meanwhile, Pacquiao came back strong. Joe Lopez says
Guy's been boxing for his fucking 18. So go ahead.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Joe Lopez says Chocolatito and Triple G equal HBO hype jobs. The Fight Scout says Asian dudes were laying hands on Chocolatino. Brian Viloria gave him hell.
Chocolatino? They call him?
Yeah, that's what he called him. Yeah. Cena Messias says.
How did you guys have Estrada? How did you guys have Estrada Chocolatito 1?
7-5. Oh wait. Are you talking wrong side and wrong?
No, Chocolatito Estrada.
Oh,
they only fought once.
Libido's going ape shit back there, huh? Your libido?
7-5. 7-5 Roman.
Yeah, you had Gonzalez winning that one.
You mean the first Soaring Vasai fight?
No, he said the Gonzalez Estrada.
He said Chocolatito versus
I thought he said wrong.
Estrada.
Yeah, no, I thought he said wrong beside Johnny.
Well, they only
I thought you said. No, I thought you said. No, but I thought you said. I thought you said I was a right spider.
I said chocolate. Fuck's sake, man! I said Chocolatito versus Estrada. I said who won? Who do you think won?
I thought you said I was a right spider.
I thought Roman won.
I thought Roman won.
Yeah.
All right.
The
I
thing
was trying
about
to
when you said PDA that you read a comment that everybody was putting hands on Chocolatito. When you're in a fight, you're gonna get hit. It's the thing. If you're not getting hit back and you're not in a fight, you're not challenging yourself. And at the world level, this is gonna be happening. I just have a problem with people saying, "Oh, that guy's getting hit." When you're fighting at this level, that shit happens.
The Floyd shit. It's because of Floyd Mayweather and his whole hit, not get hit style, running away. Of course, you're not gonna get hit.
Well, you know what? That's a good point, Gonzalo. That's a very good point, especially when you consider that number one, Chocolatito was coming forward, and you're always going to get hit a little bit more when you're coming forward. And even then, like I said, he was putting on offense and defense together beautifully. And second of all, he was stopping fighters. So it's not like he was getting beat up in there. He was taking a couple of shots. Meanwhile, he was brutalizing guys almost every minute of every round. So. Yeah, that thing about
I'll tell you right now, Triple G and him, in terms of like masterful dominance performance, that's the best I've ever saw live, like at least live.
You know what? Recognize. If I had a choice of who to fight, either a guy like Gonzalez and Golovkin or a guy like Canelo, I would rather take my chances against a guy like Canelo because if you go on the defensive, he's not the greatest at cutting the ring off. Meanwhile,
exactly.
Gonzalez and Golovkin, they'll chase you down, they'll put suffocating pressure on you, and they're gonna hit you so hard your balls are gonna come out of your fucking mouth. I don't want to fight those guys. I would not want to fight them.
Your balls are gonna come rolling out of your place.
That's weird.
Rahawa in the chat from England. Get Chocolatito's penis out of your mouth for 2 seconds, will you? Give yourself take a breather, bro. I mean, let's be real. Fuck, don't be talking about just confusing timelines. Chocolatito has never broke through. I mean, I don't care what you say. I don't have different timelines. Which he hasn't broke through. Inouye is a big star, massive star. Everyone knows who Inouye is. That's why I was just comparing the two. I'm not comparing resumes. I'm just comparing. Has Chocolatito done anything more than Inouye has for fight of the decade? Inouye's not my fight of the decade. Nowhere near.
Let me ask a question real fast, Stu. If everybody knows who Inouye is, right, and you know who he is. Before the World Boxing Super Series, who's his best win?
But that's not the point, bro. That's what I'm saying.
The point is that nobody knew who he was before the World Boxing Super Series. Chocolatito didn't have the same opportunity.
Yeah, but every
fighter he didn't have the same opportunity. So why are you criticizing him? He fought better fighters than Inouye.
Yeah, exactly. He still couldn't break through. It's like he just didn't. He didn't. Like so when people were saying he was pound for pound number one, I didn't agree with that. I was watching this fight. I saw a good
Because
fight.
it was the lower weight class. Not a lot
Let's
of
be
people
honest,
give
yeah.
recognition.
Listen,
Let's
that's
be
not an
honest. The
excuse.
108,
That's not
12,
an
and
excuse.
16 pounders
this
are never going to
bullshit.
get the shine.
Hey, hang on a sec, Gonzalez. This bullshit that the boxing snobs keep coming out with, because of the smaller weight. Only us boxing, hardcores know about the smaller weights. Listen, go back to the years when fucking Prince Naseem Hamid was a pay-per-view fighter selling out Madison Square Garden, billboards all over the place. The Barrera and Morales days. Floyd Mayweather.
They were in a marquee division. It's one of the four marquees. Featherweight's always been a fucking marquee.
Bantamweight's never been a marquee division until them guys made it one.
Hang on. Let me say this one thing.
Those guys fighting in that division.
Hold on. One at a time, please. One at a time. Hold on. Guys. We're all talking over each other. Listen, let's go to. Hold on. Let's go to G Boogie and then to Johnny Boy. Right? G Boogie, you want to say something?
And then me after then.
Yeah, what I was saying is, Stu, you can't put the charismatic of a Prince Naseem against a Chocolatito. Chocolatito is a soft.
I don't think you guys get my point. I'm saying is, if you've got listen, you're saying he can't make it as a big star because he was a small guy. But I'm saying
I'm saying the charismatic wise, he's not one of those guys like a Prince Naseem. That's why when you brought up Prince Naseem, I had to, confront
well, let's be real, fucking Barrera and Morales.
Prince Naseem was like he was the epitome of entertainment in those days. And then when he fought Barrera, and Barrera wasn't really all that, he let his fight take it. He took it to the people in the fight, and that's what made Prince Naseem talking all that shit that he was going to do all that shit. And next thing you know, when he got in the ring with Barrera, Barrera let his hands do the talking, and he fucked Prince Naseem up.
And let me say this. First of all, those guys are all featherweights that we're talking about. The little weight classes, they don't get their recognition like they should. It's like the offensive lineman in football and the defensive lineman. You got to do some wild shit.
Well,
flyweight, hang on, man. Hang on. You got to do some wild shit in them lower weight classes. Fly, super fly, junior bantamweight. You got to do some wild shit to get your real props up in them little tiny weight classes.
It's just facts, right?
And hang on. And second of all, dude.
Go ahead. He said it. Go ahead. There's a delay.
Hang on. Chocolatito was actually a good fighter. The Prince was a fucking hype job. Okay, that's another thing. The Prince ducked Marquez for 2 years, who was his mandatory. He was scared shitless of Morales. Then they finally fucking gulped him into a fight with Barrera, and he got the shit kicked out of him. And don't bring up Kevin Kelly. And don't bring up Kevin Kelly to me. I like Kevin Kelly. Kevin Kelly got his ass beat by Bobby Pack, bro. Stop it.
Yeah. Come on, but that was later on in his career, man.
Tito fucking sleeping on the canvas like Apollo Creed. That guy.
Yeah, and by the way,
that's what I remember.
I like how Stu reminds everybody, hey, I don't care about your argument. He was sleeping.
Yeah. Yeah.
But hold on, guys.
Actually, has he woke up yet?
All right, guys, don't forget, we had Gonzalo want to say something.
Hold
on. Recognize.
To be fair, I can do the same thing to Pacquiao.
Guys, sorry, Gonzalo was next. Sorry, we got to keep some order here. Gonzalo,
go ahead.
Don't lose your spot, man. Gonzalo, go ahead.
Name me one pound for pound fighter the Prince beat.
Fucking Gonzalo's making me look like an asshole, man. I stopped everything just for him, and now he's telling me to go fuck myself.
Get him. A few people were saying in the chat.
Gonzalo's telling me to go fuck myself.
Guys. Hey, by the way, Stu's only point was that it's not about the weight class. If it's 100 pounders fighting. He's gonna watch it. That's all. That's all Stu was.
Yeah, thank you, Peter.
Pete,
like I said,
you're welcome, Stu.
Pete, all I was saying was this: All I was saying was them dudes at them little weight classes have to do a lot more to get their
Yeah,
recognition.
that's true. That's true, Johnny. Because the
And
problem is,
hang on,
yeah, but hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. The problem is, Johnny, no one wants to see two guys fight that are smaller than their fucking wives.
well, yeah, but it doesn't matter. I don't mind seeing that. I'll watch two.
That's why they're not making.
I'll watch two 5'4" guys beat the shit out of each other for 12 rounds over some fucking Wilder fighting some bum any day of the week. I don't give a fuck how small they are.
Yeah,
that takes
you're a hardcore. Just because you think like that, don't mean everyone else is thinking like that.
Well, that's
I know
because
I know how casuals think. A lot of boxing fans and casuals do not like watching the smaller guys. I used to be like that until I got into boxing seriously, and then I started to enjoy the smaller guys because they're technically very good and they're very exciting. They're quick, aren't they? The KOs are not there as often as I'd like, but they're exciting to watch. But casuals don't want to see guys that are fucking the height of the ropes in there fighting. I don't know why. They just don't.
Yeah. Well, can I make one good point?
Yeah,
real fast.
Me too. After
Chocolatito, like we're talking about knockouts, right, and excitement and shit, right?
He has a good KO ratio. He does.
Yeah, he knocked out more people in this decade than both Canelo and Pacquiao, and that's a fact.
I'm talking about that. I'm talking about the whole. Come on, man. I'm talking about the whole divisions as a whole.
Yeah, and I was asked my opinion on fighter. I was asked my opinion on fighter of the decade, not who I think is the biggest.
Yeah, but you're getting mixed up. You're getting mixed up about every one of my points. That's what I'm saying.
What's your point?
You're not getting my point. So what's the point?
The smaller guys. I think it all starts at 118. That's like the premier, the golden division for the Mexicans. If we go back to Olivares, Carlos Zarate, and all them guys, and even like 112, 116. We had Ricardo Lopez, who was really, really good, undefeated, only drew one time. The real fight that got the attention of people was the Chiquita Gonzalez versus Michael Carbajal. That was under 118. That was the first $1 million gate for like a big fight with little guys, where little guys were fighting. But I think at 118, 118 on the western side is where they started getting more like of attention because of the Mexican.
Yeah.
But
in
you know
Japan,
what?
Let's be real. In Japan, they make a lot of money in there. You know, I'm just saying that is. I'm not speaking for the hardcores like Johnny and McGregor. They like to force opinions on people because they're hardcores. But I'm talking through the casual way of thinking. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying that's how I think. I'm thinking and let's be real. They don't get the recognition because a lot of people don't want to see small guys in there that are real small.
That's right, and that's what I want to interject here. But hold on, can I interject here? Because I want to make this point, and I've made it a whole bunch of times. I get really easily upset when I read articles by these social justice people in boxing where they go, oh, every time Clarissa Shields fight or this other woman fights, they go, oh, equal pay for women. When are they going to get equal pay? And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. Why aren't you writing articles about all these little guys that have to fight for peanuts in circus tents? Because nobody wants to watch them and nobody knows them because they're too small. How about that, huh? That's what pisses me off. And here's the other thing. That's the unfortunate thing. These little guys, there's even hardcore fans that don't even know. Like we had a card in Japan a couple of weeks ago, or actually a couple of days ago. Nobody really watched it. Nobody cared about it because there were little Japanese guys that nobody cares about. And it's the same thing across all industries. Like Stu said, nobody really wants to watch. I mean, in the industry that I used to work on, the midgets had it the hardest because they had to do extra stuff just to come close to the pay. I mean, they had to do the triple chocolate, the Guatemalan punch out. They had to do the mashed potato, all this sick stuff just to make half.
Speaking of your industry, look.
Yes.
This was something that I heard a porn director talk about. He said that if you were a black guy and you came in average or below average, get the fuck out of here. Nobody's hiring you. You understand? No. Here's my point. That even in your industry, the porn industry, there's discrimination, right? But you'll never hear nobody complain about that shit, right? You won't hear.
That's right.
Black guys.
But first of all,
well, I couldn't get in because I'm too small.
First of all,
they had a producer who straight out said it on HBO. He said, "Unfortunately, if you're a black dude and if you're average or below average, we don't want you." That's
so in other words, anyway, listen, we're all hardcores here. We all watch good fights. I can watch that. I can watch a Nui and I can watch a Nui and Donaire all fucking night long. All these guys are small, man. The welterweights, it's fucking. All these guys are tiny. You know what I'm saying? All of them are. So
Roman Gonzalez was super small. Pete.
Yeah, but I'm saying I can watch him fight
Yeah,
Estrada. They're the same
he
size.
listen
It
to
don't
his
matter to me.
voice. He talks like like that. Like that's a midget.
No, it is
That's a
Pucho.
midget.
That turns you off.
He's real little.
They call him
Absolutely.
Unano in Tagalog.
Well, how do you have Canelo pound for? I mean, how do you have Canelo fighter of the decade then, Bucho?
Oh, it's a good point. He sounds like a midget too.
Well, you know something,
Gonzalez,
Canelo's a midget too.
I'm just saying, all these guys. I mean, they're
Oh,
all,
you're
Yeah, well,
65.
if Canelo's a midget, what does Chocolatito look like in there? Fucking Warwick Davis.
like a
Oh, come on. I was
Derby
waiting for
jockey.
that. I was waiting for that first 2020 Warwick Davis reference from Stu.
You
Nice.
got-
How many
it's
times did you
2020,
mention
there's
Warwick Davis?
out there.
Bro, they're the same size as
Mention-
Kentucky Derby jocks. Are like 110 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't forget, Stu. And Willow fucked shit up too.
Sorry, was that?
Don't forget, Willow fucked shit up too, man.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Willow. Bucho, this for you, by the way.
Que chingue a su madre.
The funny thing about it, when my daughter was born, listen, when my daughter was born, right, the baby next to my daughter's was Warwick Davis. I was speaking to him. I didn't know his name at first. I said, "Oh, you're Willow, aren't you?" He goes, "If you want to call me that." But yeah, Warwick Davis, his baby was he had a little dwarf, and she was born on the same day as my daughter. Was in the same hospital. So
Oh,
that's
he
how
had
I
a
remember
midget son
Warwick.
too?
So, wait, you met him?
He had Joshua's daughter. His daughter was a midget, but she was really tiny. He was in there for ages. I mean, I remember his car because you knew it was his car because it all had loads about 4 cushions on it on the front seat.
Oh, come on, man. Come on.
Hey, so he had like a clown car or something?
No, it was a disabled car. He had a gearbox. You know, like the racing cars, the gearbox on the steering wheel. But because he had to see over the steering wheel, he had 4 fucking big cushions on the seat. So
Okay, come on, man.
Yo, don't drive close to that guy, man.
He
But I
probably had
remember
a,
him.
he
Yeah,
probably had a
that's why I
premature
always,
baby.
that's why I always say Warwick.
Oh,
It was
That's
probably
where the Warwick
premature
Davis
fighting for his
fight
life,
comes
and
from.
Stu's busting his balls about how small his
Hey,
baby is.
Stu, did the steering wheel look like a hula hoop when he was on it? I mean, when he has to fucking open his arms wide open just to get over the steering wheel.
I didn't see him driving. I just assumed no one else in that hospital looked like they needed 4 cushions on their fucking driver's seat. Do you know what I mean? So I assumed it was his car. I think it was like some sort of Toyota or something like that. But he's probably made a few quid since then, so he's probably driving something better. But
Imagine he
yeah,
falls
that's
asleep.
why-
Imagine he falls asleep in the hospital, and a nurse or a doctor
Was it
thinks.
a hospital?
That's him in the nursery.
Yeah.
Yeah, he seems all right though. Like I said, his baby was small, man. Because my daughter was like 4 pounds, and that one was like about £2, £1.5. It was really tiny,
Oh,
man.
jeez, that sucks. That's gotta suck.
No, she's all right now. She's still alive. His daughter's still alive. She, like I said, I've seen her.
Oh, okay. Now let's keep making fun of him. Okay, let's keep making fun of him. I got what?
2 pound Susie.
Okay, come on. All right, listen, guys. So we've all named our fighter of the year. We had a nice little, decade. We had a nice little discussion. So here's my question, because like I told Bucho at the beginning of the show, when the decade started, it looked very different to the way it ended, obviously. So it begs the question, what's next for this decade? And is the fighter of the next decade, or this new one, is it going to be a guy that we're all familiar with, or is it going to be a completely new fighter?
It's going to be a fighter we're all familiar with right now. It's going to be Virgil Ortiz, and I'm telling you all that now.
What about Ryan Garcia?
No, the ugly Mexican's going to beat the pretty Mexican.
Yeah, that's usually how it works. That's usually how it works.
That's it.
Yeah, the ugly one has anger. You know.
That's right. Yeah.
When you're too pretty,
That's it.
you know, you can't rip. Look, that's why I say Oscar De La Hoya may have been the one of the greatest fighters of all time. He was too pretty to be that good. So eventually, you know, it was about to go downhill for him.
Yeah, but he had red peppers up the ass, though. Literally. So that probably motivated
That's what I
him.
meant by, you know,
spatulas.
Shit started going downhill for him.
That's right.
And you know what saved those guys' careers? That they could get knocked down and get up from the canvas. It's a hard thing to say because you can be like a good guy, but who's to say you're going to survive a whole decade without falling from grace like Chocolatito with one punch? You just get knocked out. Even if you were that good, punching power, skills, then all of a sudden you get knocked out. You're going to get thrown under the bus. You got to survive, have a good chin to be an all-time great like that.
That's a good point. That's a good point. By the way, people are giving Stu shit for talking bad about midgets. I mean, come on, we're just having fun here. I don't understand what the problem is. Obviously, we don't have any. Listen, let me put the.
He's saying that he doesn't respect the sport because he doesn't like 108-pound fighters. Ooh, you whiny motherfuckers! You whiny.
The only.
Listen. Hang on a minute, Gonzalo. Let me get in here, man. This guy's coming.
For fuck's sake,
man. Listen, that guy's coming at me. Let me respond, man. Let me respond. Listen, I've got a life. I have children. I've just lost my dad. You know, I've a busy life ahead. I have to work. I have to pay bills. Look, I don't have time to sit and fucking masturbate over chocolatito, right? You guys, man. You guys seriously need to get a life, man. There's more to life than boxing, you know. Sometimes we don't know it all. We're just here to give an opinion. You guys are, get out of here, man. Whining
Sky Sports needs to hire Stu. Sky Sports needs to hire Stu. Sky Sports needs to hire Stu as on their commentary team. Like,
no.
Let's go to unofficial
Pete,
scorecard. Stu, what you got? I don't know. I got 5 rounds to 2. Everybody's talking about counterpunching. I'm
Pete. If
he doesn't like midgets.
If Sky Sports hires Stu, they're gonna have to be apologizing for everything he says every 2 seconds. Oh, we apologize for his language, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, the bad language.
It'd been 18, wouldn't it? They put 18 at the start of the show.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's go to Stu. What do you think? Stu's at the concession stand. I'm not
What
watching.
a load of shit, innit? I'd be like, what a load of shit that was. Disgrace to boxing, both of them.
All right.
Like, this fucking wanker. He didn't give me my beer. Fuck sakes.
Let's be honest. Stu would shut down the boxing voice today with the stuff that he has to say.
I'm glad we got him.
Damn right.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Now listen,
You would have been Stu would have been politically wrong for the boxing.
Falpo's been having a few digs at me lately. Maybe because I've been calling the Polish fighters punching bag bums. I mean, like I said, in the UK, in the UK, we don't have punching bags in our gyms no more. It's cheaper just to get a Polish guy over, and he takes more punishment. And he's fucking very cheap. So we like to see the Polish guys over here. So that's why he's having a go at me, because he's still upset about that Latvian storm that hit.
Him and Jason Bourne. Him and Jason Bourne
very, very upset. I mean, he still hasn't got over the Andrew Galotta defeat against Lennox Lewis all them years ago, and that's why I think he's got a problem with me.
The only 105-pounders in sports that get recognition are like horse jockeys that race for the Triple Crown.
Yeah, exactly.
That big Pollock that Dillian White fought last time, that was a punching bag with legs. But White's garbage too. But I mean, that guy was a fucking punching bag.
To be fair, he was training and White wasn't. We had like 8 days now.
I don't give a fuck.
I know you.
Right. So listen,
hey Stu, I know. Can I just say something? The way Stu can make these people happy in the chat is if he goes to Japan, flies to Japan, and watches the next WBA 105 title defense.
yeah.
Listen, mate,
that's not taking place in Japan.
Hey, if I'm going to Japan, it's to watch the fucking Kumatai or something like that. It won't be to watch boxing.
Nah, he's gonna watch one of the sumo wrestlers that's about 150 pounds fight a 550-pound Goliath.
I mean, Matthews, whatever his name in the chat's giving me a bit of stick. He says Stu likes his purebred British fighters, Anthony Joshua, Nigel Benn, and all you, mate. He's giving me a bit of stick, basically saying we've got immigrant fighters, and I'm claiming them. Listen, if you've got a British passport, it's not about colour with me, son. It's about nationality. I'm a patriot, not a racist. I mean, let's be real. You're the one who masturbates to Ivan Drago posters. And,
come on. Wait a minute.
God save the Queen. God save
show Matthews. Matthews gets excited when he sees. Matthews gets excited when he sees a shiny Eastern European six-pack. There's no doubt about that. So,
well, you know what? What I like about this show is what I like about tonight's show is we managed to insult everybody: midgets, Polish people, Japanese people. Everybody was involved in it, and I think we just liked a couple of little ethnic groups, and we could have been.
We're bringing the world together, man.
That's right.
Through comedy. First of all, let's get the autistics though. Somebody whistle.
Let's get the what?
Oh, I'm scared.
The
Yeah, you got-
autistics. Just whistle. They'll go crazy.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. Now listen, listen. We don't want to
Charlie
listen.
Bad,
Yeah, Vinny Mac's
my brother.
Yeah, Vinny Mac. Hi guys. This is Vinny Mac. Listen, the point is this, man. I asked the question, who is going to be the
Mr.
next fighter?
Procho.
I asked the question,
Mr.
who's going to be that
Record
the fighter of the decade? And it's interesting because at the beginning of the last decade, we didn't have Inoue, we didn't have Golovkin in our sights, we didn't really have Kovalev and Lomachenko. So things changed. Errol Spence, things changed quite a bit. Oh, hold on a second. Foulpole Boxing just donated. Shout out to Foulpole. He says Galata was drugged before the Lennox Lewis fight. Everybody that loses now has been drugged or fucked in the ass before the fight, and that's why they didn't have any legs left. I mean, come on, it's nonstop with these people.
Shout out to drug George Foreman and Zaire.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he had some bad juju there. But
no,
listen,
I'm serious. They drugged him.
Let's be real. The guy that's been giving me stick in the chat, Rohara, he gives me stick and then comes out with a statement like Galata was drugged. Let's be real. Galata got the absolute shit kicked out of him inside a round. It was absolutely embarrassing. Look at that face he pulled. Did you see that face?
Yeah, I remember that face.
He's lucky.
I remember.
He's lucky the internet went around then, mate, because he would have been a meme.
That's true, huh? Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, that was a weird face. I remember.
Yeah, it was like a Curtis Stevens face, wasn't it? It was a Curtis Stevens face when he got hit by Golovkin.
Who was that
The Louis
fighter
Ortiz
that?
face.
Who was that fighter? Who was that fighter that had a nervous breakdown against
Oliver McCall? Oliver McCall.
So that's what Galata did. That's what Galata did.
After he took a four punch combination, he did do the way he fucking did, mate. So I mean, let's be real. What it was, Lewis hurt him with one shot.
I was trying to stick that
Sorry,
mouth.
there's a delay, man. There's a terrible delay.
El Cerdo said, I was trying to stick that mouthpiece back in Galata's mouth. I should have shoved it up his ass.
Yeah, I remember. I remember the Galata fight after he pulled out against Tyson, and he's going back to the dressing room.
Yeah, that's what he was talking about.
And then, but that's what I'm saying. And then when he was going back to the dressing room, and people were throwing fucking all sorts of drinks on him, and then there's this guy. This guy had
He's had two good Andrew Galata's had two good performances in his career, and he got disqualified in both of them.
Hey, you know what?
Remember when he was screaming in the Tyson fight? No.
Wait, hold on.
No.
The other great.
He was.
The other great Andrew Galata moment was because his English wasn't very good when he fought John Luis and lost a very close decision, and he dropped Luis twice, but the second knockdown I believe was he hit him behind the head. So then after the fight, they asked him, do you feel you won the fight? I won the fight, yes. And then they go, you dropped him twice, but the second knockdown was you hit him behind the head. Do you think it should have been called a knockdown? And the guy goes, no kidding. No kidding. Well, you wanna see this thing's like, what does that mean, man? No kidding. Oh, but the guy was scary, man. The guy, especially in the John Luis fight, he was roided up. And in the John Luis and the Chris Bird fights, he was roided up, man. The guy was cut.
His back. Remember his back? He has pimples, like a bunch of pimples, man.
Yeah, it looked like my cock, man. But anyway, listen. The point is, I don't know who's gonna be. I don't know who's the fighter of the decade.
Wards.
Fascinating.
No, not because of the wards, but because of the musculature. Anyway, listen. The point is this: fighter of the decade. Yeah, John Holmes style. I don't know who the next fight of the decade is, but I'm very excited, man, because it could be anybody. It could be somebody we already know. Could be like a guy like Terence Crawford. Could still be Lomachenko. You never know. Maybe he can continue to dominate well into his late 30s. I mean, I tell you, man, the future looks bright unless something happens and boxing gets shut down. But
God willing, we're still alive, BDA. 10 years is a long time.
Would you stop jinxing it, man? What's the matter with you? Fucking Gonzalez.
God willing, I'm still alive, man.
Economic crisis.
I don't, or I get fucking cancer or something, man.
Shut up, man. Don't jinx it, man.
I've got a bit of a morbid vibe to the show right now.
Yeah,
I mean, what if your head chopped off by a... come on.
Yeah, imagine you end up in the
if we're going
fridge.
morbid.
Imagine you end up chopped up in the fridge. What's gonna happen then? Like, shut up, Gonzalo, man. Take it easy.
Gonzalo's the
I
sort of
said,
guy
what
that.
happens if you bump into the Mexican cartel? I say that.
Yeah, exactly.
Gonzalo's the sort of guy that leaves his car, walks and leaves his car in the drive in case he crashes his car, sort of thing. One of them ones.
What happens if you get full-blown AIDS? What happens if you get full-blown AIDS, Vato? Man, what happens then? All right, take it easy, man.
What happens if you go outside?
Gonzalo puts two condoms
Assist
on.
was working.
What if you get a flesh-eating virus? What if you get a flesh-eating virus and it eats your cock? What are you gonna do then? All right, take it easy.
The reality.
You're
The
beginning
reality,
to show
you can take care of yourself, eat healthy, and try to do the best things for you, and you can just walk outside and get hit by a car, like the Bible says.
Damn right.
I put that
unprecedented
contract on a little
circumstances or
puppet
something.
way.
Wait. I want to hear the quote. I want to hear.
pork chop. He wants his life.
I don't want his pork chop. I want his life.
Wait. Hold on,
That's
Gonzalo. I really want to hear
Hold
the
on.
quote. What was the quote you said? I want to hear it.
No, I was just gonna say
It
the
puts
future's
the lotion
uncertain.
in the basket.
That's what the Bible
Let him
says.
finish.
The future's uncertain. Unforeseen circumstances. That's what the Bible talks about.
All right, listen, we're never gonna get through this, man. Everybody's talking over each other today. But the point is, I think it was a great show. I think we
What
can
if you
even.
went to Florida and you met a carjacker by accident and he takes your life?
Oh
What
man,
about Kellerman?
That's what happened to Vernon Forrest, right? He chased that guy, got shot.
what if James Butler? What if James Butler breaks out of jail and you invite him to stay over at your house and then he buys a hammer? He buys a hammer from Home Depot and it's like, all right.
You're beginning to show weakness, SA. I gave the contract on Little Puppet.
Same thing happened to Trevor Burbick, right?
Lobito.
Yep. He got beat up by his cousin.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Who got
Corey-
beat off by their cousin?
Trevor Burbick?
What is
He
this?
got beat off by his
tragedy of
cousin?
the decade? Tragedy of the decade
Yeah.
now? All
He
right.
got
What's the
killed.
tragedy of the
got
decade?
killed.
Adrian
Oh, he
Broner.
got killed. I thought you said he got beat off. Oh no.
Anyway, I'm not gonna get.
Whatever
I'm
happened
not.
to Corey Sanders? I know Corey Sanders got killed, but what happened?
Got shot up in South Africa. It's very violent.
No, I know
over there.
that, but why?
Yeah,
What
it's
happened?
insane.
It was a
He
holdup,
was
I
in a
think.
restaurant with his. Yeah, go ahead, BD.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
No, it's, he
Stole
was
his
in a
uncle's
restaurant with
recipe,
his
that's what
daughter.
happened.
And he was about to pay or
Go ahead,
something, and then the robbers, they went into the restaurant and killed him. Shot him in the stomach like 2 or 3
that's what
He
times.
tried to fight back or something?
For Rwanda.
I'm not sure if he tried to fight back.
Oh man. All right.
But he was a tall man, so that's pretty impressive. You know, if somebody sees a big guy like that, yeah, they want to get rid of him.
Yeah, maybe they got
Right.
scared and gonna fuck
Yeah,
him.
he was
As I say, as my health deteriorates, shittier and shittier countries, till by the end of my life, I'm the healthiest. So,
All right, listen, fellas, thank you for joining us, man. We do have to move on, get the hell out of here because we've been on for about 3 hours. But hey, fantastic show to start the year off, man. What?
Subscribe, people.
That's right, subscribe. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy.
Hit the like button, subscribe.
Hit the like button.
Hit the like button.
Subscribe.
Costs you nothing.
That's right.
Subscribe. That also costs you nothing as well.
Exactly.
Excuse me.
Ah, Jesus, come on! What? All right, this
I
show is
apologize.
falling apart, man. This show is
I thought
falling
I muted
apart, man.
myself. I thought I muted.
Shitting,
I think it starts falling apart when we start talking about midgets. That's when it all went to hell, man. And I'm gonna blame Stu for this because he instigated the whole thing. All right, listen.
That was the sexiest part of the show.
Maybe heads getting chopped off in AIDS. Yeah.
Appreciate that.
BDA, I got a question.
All right.
Is that true that they supplemented a midget to play your role in one of the sports?
I'm sure
It
that's
was
not
a-
politically correct.
You know what? You make a joke out of it, but my dream is to go out with a midget, not just any midget. Think about it, a blind midget, because that way I'll tell her I'm a midget too. So when she won't know the difference because she's blind. So when we fuck, she'll think I'm a midget with a huge cock. What do you think about that? I got it all figured out,
Good
man.
idea, man.
I got it all figured out.
Actually, you know what? Don't knock it. That's a pretty smart. That's a pretty smart idea by BDA.
I know it's a smart idea. That's why I came up with it, cocksucker. What's the matter with you,
Hey,
asshole?
there was this girl.
Take it easy. Take it easy.
Hey
I'm
guys,
agreeing with you.
there was this girl who had a fantasy of getting raped by multiple midgets. So imagine.
Okay, but wait,
Yeah,
That's pretty hot. That's pretty hot.
It's kind of weird, man.
Why does it have to be
Snow
rape?
White?
Happy
It's
New
like
Year's to everybody.
Snow White. All right.
Some really perverted girls out there.
Bucho, help me out here, man.
Yeah, well, guys, it's time to go home. All right. The bar's
All right, guys.
closing. The bar's
Happy New
closing,
Year's.
and
And
no more
remember
drinks.
that you might go outside and bump into like a robber who has a gun. His gun could go off by accident and you're dead. So
You know why Gonzalo said that? Gonzalo said that because he's used to living at 200 miles an hour. I mean, he was in the army.
His life
was
is
in the
like
army.
he's like a rock star, man.
Yeah, he was in the army. He was, he moved to the Philippines all of a sudden. I mean, this guy just lives life at a different pace. So he's more
Man,
conscious of.
don't mess with my brethren, man. He's a
Y'all
two-time
right.
Purple Heart. Two-time Purple Heart.
Jesus.
Y'all write it in a little piece of paper and put it inside my casket. Whoever the fighter of the decade is.
Don't talk that way.
this
Gonzalo.
is-
Don't talk that way,
Oh,
man.
come on, man. What are you saying?
God damn it.
Just in case if I'm not here.
All right.
You're you're sticking around, man. What are we gonna do without you? The show's not gonna be the same without you. So you're gonna stick around. I'm gonna make you stick around. All right, listen, fellas. Thank you for joining us. Fantastic show as always. We started off the year with a bang,
bang,
and we're bang, bang, bang. Oh, where's the fucking? I can't find it now.
Bang.
Anyway,
I'm putting my Ray hat on right now.
no, don't say that, man. Don't say that. I don't know if YouTube allows us to say that.
I'm wrapping
But-
my Puerto Rican flag around my head.
You
Tupac
motherfuckers!
Oh my god.
You're not gonna let me finish this, are you? You're
Sorry,
not gonna let me
Close the
finish.
show. Close the show.
Keep coming.
I think he
All
actually came when he was doing that.
He fucking
Yo.
spazzed out, huh? Those
I'm coming.
Marquez
I'm surprised he didn't
fights.
say, I'm
Oh my
coming.
God.
It was a Claudio fight. It was a Claudio
He was
fight.
roiding.
Yeah, but
Every
remember
time I
when he
watch
went?
the Manny Pacquiao
Remember when he went
fight-
after in the Antonio Barrera fight, and he was like, "You want to go with me? Bang! Come on, bang!" He went off, man.
Yeah, that was
Bust the
that,
nut.
that was a
Shorted
Claudio
out.
fight. That was a Claudio fight when he was saying bang, 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 bang because Claudio wouldn't throw shots and Pacquiao was like sort of egging him on. Yeah, but, he was roided. Who said that he was roided? Oh, Butch already left. All right,
No,
listen.
what I'm gonna say is I don't know who was roided, but Jim Lampley was busting a nut when he was doing it. I'm telling you.
Yeah, probably.
It's because Andre Ward was getting his thing sucked next to him by Max Kellerman.
Come on. Listen. This show is no. We're not gonna do it. All right, we're not gonna do it that way, guys. Thank you for being on.
He was jacking them off. All right, everybody.
Take it easy, fellas.
Peace.
Take it easy,
Happy
fellas. Thank
New
you for
Year.
joining us.
Peace out, and may your future be prosperous.
Absolutely, that's right.
100%.
Very well said. Very well said.
And
All right,
most-
listen.
And most
fellas.
importantly,
What's
I want
that?
to say one thing before I leave. Women
All
who
right.
say that size doesn't matter are shallow.
I agree with that. I can completely agree with that. All right, listen. I want to thank.
I know you boxing nut jobs that are fucking obsessed with this sport. I don't know anyone that doesn't know something or has an opinion different to you. You start fucking getting all. Well, let's just say female-like, shall we say, to keep it civil. Go fuck yourselves.
Yeah,
There
go
you
fuck
go.
yourselves. And Vinnie Mac, you too. Go fuck
Oh, come on.
yourself.
Now, wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I know he's listening. I know he's listening.
I'm pretty sure he is. All right, listen. I want to thank everybody that joined us. I want to thank Gonzalo, Recognize, Stu, Pete, Johnny Boy, who dropped in for a little while, G Boogie also. McGregor was here as well. Apology came by for a little while. And if I forgot anybody, I'm sorry. You let me know. But thank you for joining us. Really, this show, fantastic. First show of the year, and we started off going like we never stopped. So thank you guys for joining us. I also want to thank everybody that donated via the super chat. I want to thank Saint Britt, Chris K, Pete, Gonzalo, John Gonzalez, and the last person was, I think it was Foul Ball Boxing as well. I can't see here, but yeah, I think it was Foul Ball Boxing. So shout out to you guys. You continue making this show the great show that it is. So I want to thank you. I appreciate it. Hopefully we continue to have as much fun as we did the last couple of years. And we're going to keep an eye out on these fighters. See who the next fighter of the decade will be. Although that is still a couple of years away. And don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that like button, subscribe to the Discord, go on over to BDA Live, subscribe to Second Renaissance. This month of January, it's going to be very scarce when it comes to boxing. So we are going to be doing more Second Renaissance shows. That is confirmed. So thank you guys for joining us. We'll catch you on the next one, folks. Take it easy. Oh, hold on a second. Before I can't forget the people in the chat room. Gonna give a shout out to Rahowa, Nes Mendoza, G Boogie, Grievous, the Pink Panther, the Fight Scout. Revolucion was in there as well. Shout out to Revolucion, Martin, Lachance, Hand History, Vault, Sina Masia, Chalindo was in there as well. BOKS. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. G Boogie just donated. Shout out to G Boogie who says, peace out. Yes, G Boogie, thank you for joining us as well, man. And thank you for your contribution. Thank you to Philippe Courtois for joining us. Sir Nickington, the Fat Scott, All Boxing Talk News, Taco Bell, BOKS, and many more people. Thank you for joining us. We'll catch you on the next one. Take it easy.
BDA Boxing.